Chapter 343, My son Pingan has the talent of a martial saint. Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing sighed. Li Feiyu had mentioned before that he planned to venture into the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. However, prior to that, he would gain experience in other places and get a glimpse of the cultivation world. Lu Changxing hadn't expected that by the time Li Feiyu returned from his cultivation journey, he himself would just happen to be away for foundation establishment, causing the two of them to miss meeting each other again. Brother Li must have experienced quite a lot on this journey. Moreover, with Brother Li's temperament, he might even make a name for himself and establish his immortal foundation. Knowing the deep relationship between Lu Changxing and Li Feiyu, clearly better than the one with himself, Hong Yi spoke out to console him. He then spoke of some changes in Li Feiyu. He indicated that Li Feiyu was indeed extraordinary. Having been out cultivating for over 2 years, his cultivation level was about to break through the 6th level energy refinement. But hearing this, Lu Changxing felt even heavier at heart. In the cultivation world, if one wants to quickly improve one's cultivation level, the options are spiritual medicines, elixir medicines, or fortuitous opportunities. Li Feiyu's acquisition of resources certainly couldn't have come from his few skills as a spirit plant gatherer or a spiritual butcher. It must have been earned through risking his life. After chatting for a long while, the two parted ways. Walking on the way home, Lu Changxing looked at the vast, turbulent canal behind the Lu residence and suddenly let out a deep sigh. Life is as the tidal flows and people as water, only to lament how few return from the rivers and lakes. After arriving home, Lu Changxing, somewhat melancholic, saw his children and realized how quickly time passes. The older ones had grown up to his shoulder height. Pingan, what are your plans for the future? Lu Changxing, with his arm around his son Lu Pingan's shoulder, asked. He knew that he had been somewhat negligent as a father. When Lu Pingan and the younger ones were small, he had been more attentive. But as the children grew older and more numerous, the less attention he paid. Usually, on a whim when he had spare time, he would show some concern. Dad, you've said, read thousands of books and travel thousands of miles. I'm thinking of traveling in a few years to see the world. Lu Pingan, unsure why his father was suddenly asking this, scratched his head and spoke somewhat embarrassedly. As the saying goes, one should not travel far while one's parents are alive. Being the eldest son at home, he felt such behavior was not quite appropriate. But since his father asked, he didn't hold back. It would be good for you to travel around, but wait a few more years until you've broken through to the innate realm before you go, Lu Changxing said. These children lacked freedom, in fact. They stayed on Jianghu Mountain when they were young. When they were slightly older, they stayed in Rui County City. Their days were filled with studying and practicing martial arts, with rare opportunities to go out. Wanting to go out and explore the world is normal. He wouldn't stop them from doing such a thing. After all, the children were growing up and should become independent. This kind of experience is part of the necessary journey of growth. The reason he mentioned the innate realm is that innate martial artists can use innate true qi to activate first-grade low and middle-grade talismans. By then, he would be much more at ease with Lu Pingan traveling in the Jianghu. Yes, Dad, I should be able to break through to the innate realm in at most 3 years, Lu Pingan said with some excitement. He had recently become a first-rate master in the martial artists community. One more step, and he would be an innate master of the Jianghu. So, in his view, his father's requirement was not difficult. Good, my son Pingan has the qualities of a martial saint. Lu Changxing, upon hearing this, patted his son's shoulder and teased. When Li Feiyu became a first-rate master at 18, he was considered a genius. Now his son had become a first-rate master at 13. However, Lu Changxing was also aware that his son's martial talent had little to do with his aptitude. 3 parts training, 7 parts feeding. Purely thanks to his own older father spending money. Martial saint, Dad, is martial saint a martial realm above the great masters of the innate realm? Lu Pingan, upon hearing this, immediately asked. He had heard that the great martial masters could compare to some cultivators. Now hearing about this martial saint, he became curious. He wanted to know if a martial saint was as formidable as a cultivator. It should be, right? Lu Changxing said offhandedly. He was just making a playful guess, not knowing anything about a martial saint. He didn't expect that his son, who was missing a beat, would actually not catch the joke and instead asked him if there was a martial realm called martial saint. But looking into his son's eyes, he roughly understood what his son was thinking. Although the children had accepted the reality that they didn't have spiritual roots and couldn't cultivate, they still harbored fantasies about it. He let out a slight sigh and changed the subject. Pingan, if there's anything you lack, like when breaking through to the innate realm, isn't there something called the innate elixir? If I'm not around, you can go directly to Uncle Hong and ask for it when the time comes, don't be shy. Also, when you plan to go out, don't just run off without saying hello, remember to write me a letter to let me know. Lu Changxing said to his son. Don't worry, Dad, I understand, Lu Pingan nodded and said. Lu Changxing patted his son's shoulder. He was quite confident in his eldest son, who had an honest character and would listen to what he said. Wuyu, what are your plans for the future? Lu Changxing then turned to his other two children and asked. Dad, I also want to travel the Jianghu, but I don't know how many years it will take to break through to the innate realm, so maybe you'll go with brother Pingan, Lu Wuyo said, grinning. That depends on whether your brother Pingan is willing to take you. Besides, your brother Pingan hasn't even traveled far himself yet, and then he'd have to carry you, a burden. Lu Changxing, hearing his daughter's words, laughed and said. No worries, if Wuyo's sister wants to brave the Jianghu, let me go out and check it first. Then he'll come back and accompany Sister Wuyo together. Chapter 344, My son Pingan has the talent of a martial saint. _4. Lu Pingan immediately said, as the eldest son, under Lu Lanchu's tutelage, he still had a strong sense of responsibility as a big brother. Thank you, brother Pingan. Lu Wuyo immediately clung to Lu Pingan's arm, pouted playfully at Lu Changxing, prompting Lu Changxing to smile warmly, and then looked towards Lu Wuyu, saying, You don't plan on trying your luck in the Jianghu as well, do you? Second brother said he wants to be a county magistrate in the future, to govern a place and bring blessings to the people. Lu Wuyo immediately spoke up first. Not bad, that's a good aspiration. After a few years, speak to your Uncle Hong. Then, you can follow him and learn, Lu Changxing said to his second son. He approved of Hong Yi's character and conduct. He felt his children could learn something from following Hong Yi. In this manner, Lu Changxing discussed the present, the future, and dreams with his children. He did not forget Bai Ling. Over these few days, he took time to see Bai Ling and foster a relationship with her. And he also brought her to meet his several daughters. So they could keep each other company normally, play together, chat, and it would be easier for her to integrate into the family. After living in Rui County City for 10 days, Lu Changxing, amid the reluctant farewells of everyone, returned to Qingzhou Mountain. Having had no news from Lu Changxing for over 5 months, naturally, his wives and concubines worried. If not for Lu Miaoga saying everything was fine and that Lu Changxing had gone traveling with a good friend, they would have assumed something untoward had happened to him. Seeing Lu Changxing return now, they all expressed their concern and care. Lu Changxing had to invent a whole narrative explaining his journey, and only after working hard into the evening did he manage to placate his wives and concubines. After spending several days appeasing his wives and concubines, Lu Changxing also began to focus on his children. Now that his son, Lu Xianji, had started cultivating after drawing qi into his body, naturally, Lu Changxing was full of encouragement and even awarded him a vestment robe and a lower-quality flying sword magic artifact as a reward. He hoped his son would cultivate diligently to reach the 3rd-level energy refinement soon. This scene made the other siblings envious and many wives, concubines, and maids secretly wished their own children would strive and excel. But the second child with a spiritual root, Lu Chuanjun, was only 10 years old. He still had more than a year before reaching the age to start cultivation. Lu Changxing looked forward to his children's achievements, filled with anticipation. He wondered how many achievements he would get for the number of his children who could draw qi into their bodies. or whether there were achievements for when a child reached the energy refinement middle stage or energy refinement late stage. Afterward, Lu Changxing chatted and shared heart-to-heart talks with his children, paying attention to their situations. Thanks to the overall atmosphere of the Lu family and Lu Miao's attentive management of the backyard, he thought that the children, regardless of their personalities, had not developed any noticeable distortions and were doing pretty well. If there was any issue, it was that the children of concubines and maids were relatively less close to him, their father. They felt more awe than affection for him. Concerning this, Lu Changxing understood the situation. Be it his wives or his children, he could not treat everyone equally. Often with his children, it was either about their spiritual root or their mother's status. So even though he was easygoing with his children, the lack of regular contact naturally led to a decrease in closeness. Under the influence of the atmosphere and their mother's teachings, an image of dignity had formed in the children's minds. Even though he knew about this issue, Lu Changxing had no way to improve it. He now had 117 children. 28 of them had spiritual roots. Even if he only cared for those with spiritual roots, he didn't have the time and energy. All he could do was to pay a bit more attention to the children and try to ensure they didn't go astray. After finishing the heartfelt discussions with his wives and children, Lu Changxing also remembered his golden armor bean mother. He dug a hole in his courtyard, poured in some second-rank spiritual earth, and planted the golden armor bean mother. He also asked Lu Miaoyan to water and look after it on his behalf regularly. After all, the earlier it was planted, the sooner it would sprout. It couldn't be grown inside the spiritual pet bag. Lu Miaoyan, although unsure of what kind of seed it was, remembered her husband's instructions and resolved to care for it well. In the following time, Lu Changxing was dedicated to child rearing in Jianghu Mountain. He planned to keep shuttling between Jianghu Mountain and the Red Leaf Valley Market once he received news from Xianxia. Chapter 345, the number 1 talisman path practitioner of the Lu family, crafting the 7 luminaries heart lamp. _1. Qingyun Sect. Sutra Pavilion. Xianxia, are you sure you want to choose such a technique? The guardian elder looked at the 3 techniques Xianxia had chosen. Upon seeing one of them, a strange expression crossed his face. Mastering one spell can help understand all spells. The cultivation technique I practice requires comprehension of various techniques, so I choose this one. Xiaoxia's demeanor was cool and holy, her expression calm as she made a slight bow and spoke. Since you've made up your mind, Xiaoxia, this old man naturally won't say more. However, you should be aware of our Qingyun sect's rules. You must swear an oath to the heart demon that no cultivation technique shall be leaked. The guardian elder, seeing Xiaoxia's disposition, spoke no further, merely nodding slightly. Thank you, elder. Xiaoxia nodded, took the heart demon oath to keep the cultivation techniques confidential, and then left promptly. It seems that foundation establishment does have a significant impact on childbearing. Lu Changxing had returned to Jianghu Mountain for over a month now. In this past month, he had hardly practiced cultivation. Apart from making talismans, he had spent all his time on trivial matters with his wives and children and on childbearing efforts. Yet despite trying hard for a month, only 3 concubines became pregnant. He realized that this must be due to his breakthrough to foundation establishment. As cultivators enhance their cultivation level, each breakthrough in a major realm makes it more difficult to sire offspring, a common sense in the cultivation world. However, the higher the cultivation level of the parents, the higher their strength, and the higher the probability that the children born will possess spiritual roots and of better quality. Now that I've broken through to foundation establishment, plus the system's boost of a 5% probability for spiritual roots, the probability and quality of my children's spiritual roots should also significantly improve. Lu Changxing thought to himself. Although he had been diligently engaged in childbearing this month, he also adhered to the principle of optimal breeding. All 3 children were conceived by concubines with spiritual roots. Therefore, there was a reasonable probability that the children too would possess spiritual roots. If you and I were to have a child, it should be of good aptitude, I reckon. At that moment, Lu Changxing thought of Xiaoxia. She not only possessed a 4th-grade spiritual root and a moonlight spirit body, but she was also a foundation establishment cultivator. If the two were to have offspring, it would most likely result in a child with spiritual roots, and one of commendable aptitude. Yet he also knew that having a child with Xianxia at this point would be quite difficult. Childbearing would delay several years of cultivation, and her master was unlikely to agree. "Husband, grandmother has come over. It seems she has something to discuss with you." Lu Miaoyan came to the backyard at that moment, informing Lu Changxing. "Something to discuss with me?" Surprised by the news, Lu Changxing followed Lu Miaoyan to the main hall. In the hall, the 4th elder was sipping tea. The elderly person was now 90 years old. The once plump and aged face had aged considerably. The now completely white hair had once shown mere streaks of gray. "Grandmother." Lu Changxing immediately greeted her with a bow. "Changxing." The 4th elder nodded approvingly, her face wearing a loving smile. After chatting about family matters for a while, she disclosed her purpose for visiting. She indicated that she was getting older and was preparing to step down from her position as family elder. Therefore, she was preparing to recommend Lu Changxing for the position of the elder within the family. At the same time, she hoped Lu Changxing would instruct the Lu family's youth in talisman making when he had the time. Taking the position of elder, instructing the Lu family disciples in talisman making, upon hearing this, Lu Changxing pondered for a moment. If given the choice, he would definitely not want to take on this responsibility. Because right now, he truly was very busy. He needed to make talismans, refine the 9 treasure jade rui, pay attention to his children, engage in childbearing, and cultivate himself. In the past month since his return, he had devoted almost all his time and thoughts to his wives and children and had barely practiced cultivation. He hadn't even managed to cultivate the 7 luminaries heart lamp technique to this day. Taking on the role of elder would consume even more of his time and energy. However, the 4th elder's plea was earnest, making it hard for him to refuse outright. After all, the elderly deserved to retire and enjoy her remaining years. Additionally, in the Lu family, being a cultivation family, the elder usually was someone from within the family ranks. Changxing, instructing the disciples in talisman making is mainly about giving lectures to enlighten them and to see if they have any talent for the talisman path. If they have talent, it would be just like when grandmother taught you and sister Miaoga. It won't take too much time. The 4th elder saw Lu Changxing's hesitation and continued speaking. Her tone was gentle and loving, with a hint of hope and plea in her eyes. "Grandmother, instructing in talisman making is naturally no problem. As for the position of elder, please give it to Miaoga. As you know, I have no great ambitions and don't like dealing with affairs normally." Lu Changxing met the elder's gaze and spoke. Since the elder had put it that way, he felt he couldn't outright refuse. Taking just a bit of time to lecture and share knowledge of the talisman path with the Lu family disciples wasn't too demanding. He considered it a way of contributing a bit more to the Lu family. Besides, it wasn't something he could easily shrug off. Lu Changxing knew very well that if he declined, the duty would ultimately fall on his wife, Lu Miaoga. He hoped for Lu Miaoga to have fewer worries and to focus more on her own cultivation. Given that, he might as well accept on her behalf. Moreover, he was accustomed to providing such enlightenment to his own children, so it amounted to teaching a few more. "Changxing, this position of elder is not only grandmother's wish but also the intent of the family head and the other family elders. Moreover, this elder position is really just a title and doesn't come with many duties. Miaoga will have other arrangements in the family in the future." The 4th elder patted Lu Changxing's hand and whispered softly. Chapter 346, the number 1 talisman path practitioner of the Lu family, crafting the 7 luminaries heart lamp. Lu Changxing understood upon hearing this that the position of family elder was the Lu family's way of further pulling him in. Otherwise, there was no such thing as inheritance of the elder's position. It couldn't be decided by the 4th elder alone. It required a vote from all the Lu family elders. "Grandmother, since you have said so," Changxing naturally accepts. Seeing the old woman's kind face, Lu Changxing didn't refuse any longer and nodded his agreement. Good, this matter will be decided at this year's family gathering. It will be hard work for you then, Changsheng. Upon seeing Lu Changsheng accept, the fourth elder's face broke into a smile. Such a matter was significant and naturally wouldn't be decided on the spot. She had come to give a heads up, so that Lu Changsheng could be prepared. Grandmother, it's not hard at all, Lu Changsheng said with a slight smile, shaking his head. Changsheng, how are you doing with the first-grade supreme talisman now? At that moment, the fourth elder started to show her usual concern for Lu Changsheng's talisman-making skill. She would ask about Lu Changsheng's progress in talisman-making every half-year or so. Half a year ago, Lu Changsheng had already revealed skill almost comparable to that of the fourth elder. I still need grandmother's guidance. Without saying much, Lu Changsheng showed his own talisman-making skill to the fourth elder. Now that he had broken through foundation establishment, he felt bold enough to be a bit more daring. He planned to accelerate his progress in the talisman path. In a few years, he would reveal his second-grade talisman-making skill to the public. Very good, the fourth elder was thrilled and full of approval as Lu Changsheng successfully drew a first-grade supreme talisman, her face alight with excitement. She could see that Lu Changsheng's skill in making talismans was in no way inferior to her own. The talisman, even if she were to draw it herself, would not surpass the proficiency shown by Lu Changsheng, or might even be inferior. Lu Miaoyun, who stood to one side, although not fully understanding, was also filled with joy and happiness. She knew that her husband's skill in the talisman path had improved again. Over the years, she had watched as Lu Changsheng's talisman path skill steadily improved. Changsheng, in the future for talisman making, there's nothing much grandmother can teach you, you must rely on yourself. This purple one is the inheritance for our Lu family's second-grade high-quality talisman master. This white one contains my own annotations and understandings of the talisman master inheritance over the past few decades. Now, take them and study well. The only thing grandmother wishes now is to see you become a second-ranked talisman master. The fourth elder straightened the storage bag and took out a white jade case. Inside were 2 jade slips she passed to Lu Changsheng with a solemn expression. Lu Changsheng, seeing her expression, knew that this must be the most precious thing the old woman possessed. After all, it was extremely difficult for ordinary cultivators to acquire advanced cultivation techniques and second-rank skills inheritance. Not just because they were expensive. It was also because there were very few available in the market. This inheritance for the second-grade high-quality talisman master was probably the foundational inheritance of the Lu family's talisman path. Grandmother, Changsheng will certainly not disappoint your expectations. Lu Changsheng nodded emphatically, accepting with both hands respectfully. Very good, the fourth elder joyfully patted Lu Changsheng on the shoulder, not saying much more on the subject. After briefly chatting for a while, she went to visit several of her other grandsons. As the old woman aged, her fondness for the children grew even more. Lu Yun, Lu Miaoyun's eldest son, was also 9 years old this year. Having been discovered to have a 7th-grade spiritual root, he was very much loved by the fourth elder. However, Lu Miaoyun's second child did not have a spiritual root, and the third child only had a 9th-grade spiritual root, causing both Lu Miaoyun and the elder a bit of disappointment. Congratulations to my husband. After the fourth elder departed, Lu Miaoyun congratulated Lu Changsheng with a joyous face. Her husband was not only making rapid progress in the art of talisman making, but he was also about to become a family elder, which as his wife, naturally seemed like a great cause for celebration. She felt proud and happy for her husband's achievements. Indeed, it is something to celebrate, Lu Changsheng replied, smiling and nodding. Even if he was indifferent to the elder position, it was indeed a happy event for a normal person, and it would seem somewhat remiss if he appeared too calm about it. Before long, Lu Miaoyun announced the news within the household. Congratulations to my husband, congratulations, father, congratulations, daddy. The wives and children in the back courtyard, upon hearing the news, were all very happy, offering their congratulations to Lu Changsheng. Their thoughts and understanding were similar to those of Lu Miaoyun. They felt that becoming a family elder was something very extraordinary and honorable. Now that their own husband and father were about to become a Lu family elder, it was naturally a remarkable achievement. Lu Changxing, seeing his wives' and children's happy faces, couldn't help but feel joyful, a smile spreading across his face. The matter hasn't been decided yet, it's enough that we know ourselves. He waved his hand and thought to himself that if they knew he, their husband and father, was already a foundation establishment great cultivator, they would be even more astonished. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Inside the practice room, Lu Changxing sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, the 7 luminary stars appearing tirelessly in his mind along with endless sword qi. Countless strands of sword qi gathered in his dantian, slowly forming an ancient lamp with 7 star-like flames circulating around it. 7 luminaries heart lamp. With spiritual light in the heart as the wick and mana as the oil, a flicker of mental spirit ignites the heart lamp, dispelling elixir toxicity, protecting mental spirit, clarifying the mind to see one's true nature, and warding off external demons, should it be forged into a life-bound spiritual artifact, and with heavenly silver as the oil, it could hasten cultivation, refine mana, and make one's foundations even more pure. Furthermore, when facing an enemy, stirring the mana can unleash boundless sword qi to attack, making it a versatile tool suitable for offense, defense, and cultivation. Chapter 347, the number 1 talisman path practitioner of the Lu family, crafting the 7 luminaries heart lamp. After a long time, Lu Changxing slowly opened his eyes, inspected his dantian where the 7 luminaries heart lamp had condensed, exhaled lightly, and his face revealed a look of joy. Through over half a month of secluded and arduous cultivation, he had finally succeeded in condensing the 7 luminaries heart lamp. Next, he could spend materials to forge this 7 luminaries heart lamp into his life-bound spiritual artifact. However, he did not start the forging right away. Because such a task could not be completed in a short time, and it was not possible to interrupt the process. He would need to be in seclusion for several months to accomplish it. Now Lu Changxing was beginning to understand why cultivators were beyond the constraints of time. He didn't even have to spend time comprehending and learning the method to condense this 7 luminaries heart lamp. Just visualizing the 7 luminaries, condensing sword qi, and forging the heart lamp had already taken over half a month of his time. If it were an ordinary person, they would have to be in seclusion for at least 3 or 4 months, or even half a year, to condense this lamp. Sigh, no wonder cultivators cannot have too many distractions and trivial matters. With too many trivial matters, it's really hard to focus on cultivation. Lu Changxing sighed, stepping out of the practice room. He immediately went to the residence of the 4th elder to inquire about teaching the Lu family disciples about the talisman path. He planned to teach this class and then use seclusion to break through to the 7th level energy refinement as a pretext to forge the 7 luminaries heart lamp, his life-bound spiritual artifact. After all, the 7 luminaries heart lamp was beneficial to cultivation, and the sooner it was forged, the better. I'll let the family head know later, and you can start teaching tomorrow at Jianghu Villa. Upon hearing Lu Changxing's intentions, the 4th elder said so. The next day, the sun shone brightly. The 4th elder then arrived at Lu Changxing's residence. In addition to the 4th elder, there was also a man in his 30s with a handsome and refined appearance, wearing a blue shirt and greeting them courteously. This man was the Lu family's young family head, Lu Miaochang. By this year's family meeting, he would become the new family head of the Lu family. It wasn't that Lu Yuanding had done anything wrong. Instead, the term of the family head of the Lu family lasted for 20 years. This year happened to mark the end of Lu Yuanding's 20-year tenure, so he would step down to serve as an elder. Grandma, young family head. Lu Changxing greeted the 4th elder and Lu Miaochang with a bow. Changxing. The two also nodded to Lu Changxing in return. This young family head was Lu Yuanding's nephew. That's why his temperament was somewhat similar to Lu Yuanding's. He was polite and dignified in his dealings, making him a very comfortable person to be around. Both had come for the talisman path class. Since it was Lu Changxing's first time teaching, the 4th elder had to come to oversee things. As for the young family head, he was there to set the scene and check on the situation, so that none of the family disciples would misbehave and offend Lu Changxing, the future elder and talisman master. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing also called his sons Lu Xianji and Lu Chuanjin to come along. He had already noticed that both of his sons lacked talent in the talisman path. But lack of talent aside, as cultivators, having more understanding of talismans was not a bad thing. Everyone made their way to Jianghu Villa. Uncle Fu. Lu Changxing greeted the steward of Jianghu Villa as he saw Uncle Fu. The old man had also aged significantly and was currently in a semi-retired state. Fourth elder, young family head, Changxing. Uncle Fu greeted the three of them. He felt somewhat sentimental inside. The once son-in-law of the Lu family had now become a core member. In the realm of talismans, he had surpassed Sister Miaoga in the Lu family to replace the fourth elder as the number one person in the Lu family. He led the three to a large hall in Jianghu Villa. Inside, there were more than 20 Lu family disciples. The youngest were 11 or 12 years old, and the oldest were only 15 or 16. We pay our respects to the fourth elder, Uncle Miaochang, Elder Miaochang, Teacher Lu. After receiving the message the day before, these Lu family disciples knew that Lu Changxing would be teaching talisman making. Their elders at home had also instructed them to be polite and respectful to Lu Changxing. After all, during the battle where the Lu family vanquished the Qin family, the older generation of the Lu family knew just how substantial this son-in-law was. He was not only extraordinarily gifted in the talisman path, earning the favor of the Lu family ancestor who personally bestowed the marriage, but he also had a deep relationship with a foundation establishment great cultivator. Xianji, Chuanjin, find a place to sit down. Lu Changxing said to his two sons, then started the class. With his second-rank talisman-making skill, his foundation in this basic knowledge was exceptionally solid. The theoretical aspects were also articulated as if he had a full set of instructions. He was nothing like the fourth elder, who relied on slow self-study, and could not compare to his finely honed approach. Therefore, in terms of enlightening and lecturing the newcomers on the talisman path, he could not be better suited. Lu Changxing did not hold back his skills, teaching in a straightforward and comprehensible manner, fluid and natural. Moreover, in the classroom, he broke down the steps of basic talismans for everyone, teaching them bit by bit, to the point that these children and youths were utterly enraptured. This, even the fourth elder, upon hearing Lu Changxing's lecture and the dissection of the talisman steps, couldn't help but be surprised. She felt that Lu Changxing's instruction was simply flawless, with not a single fault to find. She even experienced the sensation of reviewing old knowledge and coming to new realizations. She had originally assumed that Lu Changxing, relying on his own exploration, would have some deficiencies in his foundational knowledge. Therefore, she came to listen to the class, also thinking of giving Lu Changxing some guidance at that time to reinforce his basics. Unexpectedly, under these circumstances, she reviewed the basics herself. Alright, today's class will end here. If you are interested, you can go home and practice some on your own, and I will check on your progress in the next lesson, said Lu Changxing after lecturing for almost an hour. Simply listening is of no use in talisman making. After all, even if your mind understands, if your hands are unable to execute, it's no good. To go far on the talisman path, one must unite body and mind, with meticulous and minute control over one's own spiritual power and the strength applied. Then, through continuous hard practice, one can achieve success on the talisman path. Changxing, your performance today was truly surprising to Grandma, said the fourth elder, her face full of smiles, rather moved as she spoke to Lu Changxing. Grandma is overpraising me, it's all thanks to your regular guidance, humbly replied Lu Changxing. He then spoke of his preparations to break through the 7th level energy refinement. The next lecture might be in a few months. Changxing, if you plan to give a lecture, just tell Uncle Fu a few days in advance, Lu Miaochang spoke up. Asking Lu Changxing to give lectures obviously couldn't involve fixed times, it had to be at Lu Changxing's convenience. By the way, Changxing, do you need to exchange for a high-rank breakthrough elixir for your advancement to the energy refinement late stage? I remember the Lu family currently has 2 high-rank breakthrough elixirs, Lu Miaochang continued. That's exactly what I intend, in planning to exchange for a breakthrough elixir to assist, said Lu Changxing with a smile. It wasn't about taking advantage of using contribution value for such a small benefit. It was simply that for someone with a 9th grade spiritual root, it would seem abnormal not to use a breakthrough elixir as an aid. I just so happen to be going there as well, so let's go together, Lu Miaochang nodded promptly. Okay, Lu Changxing nodded, instructing his 2 sons to head back on their own. He went with Lu Miaochang to exchange for the high-rank breakthrough elixir. This high-rank breakthrough elixir, when purchased in the marketplace, costs 1,200 spirit stones. But when exchanged using contribution value in the Lu family, it only costs 850 points. That's equivalent to 850 spirit stones. This is one of the benefits provided by the family, encouraging the Lu family disciples to contribute more. Lu Changxing, providing talismans for the Lu family every month, had long since accumulated enough contribution to exchange for the high-rank breakthrough elixir. After exchanging for the high-rank breakthrough elixir, Lu Changxing bid farewell to Lu Miaochang. He could see that this young family head had always been extending goodwill towards him. But the man was also a close uncle through marriage relations, so naturally, Lu Changxing was friendly in return. For every inch of respect given, he would return a foot. I wonder when Shiyu will come. This refining of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp will likely take 3 to 4 months, mused Lu Changxing on his way back. It had been 3 months since they parted ways. She went back to Qingyun's sect to report and to cultivate the techniques for foundation establishment, so she was expected to visit in the coming months. Yuner, keep this transmission talisman for me, and if anyone tries to contact me, just tell them I'm in closed cultivation. Tell her to go directly to Red Leaf Valley Market to find Sister Miaoga if she has any issue, Lu Changxing instructed upon reaching home. He mentioned his plans for going into seclusion and left his and Xiao Xia's transmission talisman with his wife, Lu Miaoyan. He did this to avoid Shiyu arriving while he was not present. Chapter 348, The Effect of the 7 Luminaries' Heart Lamp, Elder of the 9 Bags _1. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 4 months had passed. Inside the practice room, Lu Changxing was dressed in a blue long robe, sitting cross-legged in meditation. In front of him, an ancient star lamp hovered. This ancient lamp was simple in design, its body a bronze color with a faint colorful light flowing over it. Around the lamp's dish, 7 thumb-sized dazzling gems were embedded, like 7 small stars, emanating strands of brilliant light. The 7 luminaries' heart lamp, it's done. Lu Changxing suddenly opened his eyes, looking at the ancient lamp before him. He could distinctly feel that this ancient lamp was integrated with him, connected to his mental spirit. This was a life-bound spiritual artifact. Even as a lower-grade spiritual artifact, its power far exceeded that of ordinary spiritual artifacts. And it could be taken inside the body, nurtured with the mana within one's dantian, gradually enhancing its power and quality. Moreover, in times of danger, the spiritual artifact could actively alert and protect the owner. The only downside was that if the life-bound spiritual artifact was damaged, the owner would also sustain certain injuries. Lu Changxing reached out, gripping the ancient lamp in his hand. It felt warm to the touch, lacking the coldness of metal, as if he was holding a piece of warm jade. With a slight intent of his mental spirit, he channeled mana into it, and the 7 gems on the lamp immediately released a blinding divine light, like 7 stars in rotation, with a golden flame emerging in the center. Under the starlight and golden flame, Lu Changxing looked immaculate, transcendent. Ha! Lu Changxing, holding the ancient lamp, gently blew on it. Instantly, the lamp's flame flickered, and strands of sword qi burst forth. These strands of sword qi were sharp and elegant, encircling Lu Changxing, forming a sword qi true dragon, a sword qi fierce tiger, and a sword qi barrier. Although its power is only equivalent to a single blow from an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator, having the profound origin bead at my side, I fear not the consumption of mana, and in a moment's thought, I can unleash up to 100 strands of sword qi, which even a foundation establishment middle stage cultivator would find difficult to withstand. If it's a group battle, facing energy refining cultivators, it would be a one-sided slaughter. Lu Changxing observed the strands of sword qi around him, felt the spiritual pressure, and estimated their power. Immediately with a thought, the sword chi dissipated, and the 7 luminaries' heart lamp transformed into a streak of light, entering his body and traveling along his meridians to hover above the chi ocean core. Having a tangible spiritual artifact and merely a technique-conjured 7 luminaries' heart lamp were completely different experiences. Now that the spiritual artifact was inside his body, Lu Changxing also found it quite mystical. I wonder how effective the 7 luminaries' heart lamp is in condensing mana. Lu Changxing thought of the effects of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp on concentrating mana at its foundation. This was also one of the most formidable effects of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. He took 2 qian of heavenly silver from his storage bag, as fuel for the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. Immediately, the golden flame of the 7 luminaries' heart lamp blazed brightly, then entered into the elixir lake, making the liquid mana inside the elixir lake bubble and churn, as if boiling. Time went by little by little. After a long time, when the fuel was exhausted, the elixir lake returned to calmness. Tisk, tsk, down goes 2 qian of heavenly silver, and I hardly saw any effect, only a faint sense of purer mana. According to the 7 luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, with the 7 luminaries' heart lamp condensing mana, the foundation can be enhanced by up to 30%, and this 30% probably requires burning upwards of 100 jin of heavenly silver. Lu Changxing couldn't help but shake his head in amazement. Ordinarily, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp uses mana as fuel, deployed in battle, expelling elixir toxicity, guarding the mental spirit and resisting external demons. But to condense the mana foundation, one had to use heavenly silver as the fuel. This heavenly silver was priced at 100 spirit stones for 1 liang. If one were to burn up to 100 jin of heavenly silver, that is, burning up to about 150 or 200,000 spirit stones. Even for Lu Changxing, such a figure was astonishing. However, a 30% enhancement in mana, not only solidifying the foundation, is also beneficial for the probability and quality of core formation. The cost in spirit stones, one could say, is worth it. Moreover, the price of 100 spirit stones for 1 liang is what I paid at the Qingyun Commerce Guild. If I purchase it myself, at least I could get it for 20 to 30% cheaper. Lu Changxing pondered in his heart. He was in no rush to use heavenly silver to condense his mana foundation. This kind of thing could completely wait until there were surplus spirit stones. Or wait until he had a solid base, then slowly start to purchase heavenly silver. Besides, such a process is not accomplished overnight, it's a long-term project. It's about time to go out, otherwise after being closed up for 4 months, the family might think something has happened to me. Lu Changxing used the cleansing technique, cleaned up the practice room, packed up the heavenly canopy 5 elements formation, and walked out of the practice room. Husband. Daddy. Outside the courtyard, Chu Jinjin was telling a story to their little son and daughter. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, they immediately voiced their surprise joyfully. Jinjin, I've made you worry. Lu Changxing knew that his prolonged seclusion must have worried his wives. Was your cultivation smooth, husband? Chu Jinjin, clad in a light pink and white dress, her delicate features charming, hugged Lu Changxing and asked with concern. Having closed up for so long, naturally, I've made a breakthrough. Lu Changxing smiled, gently patting his petite wife's back. After all these years, Chu Jinjin was still very attached to him. But with children now, when he wasn't around, she would focus her heart and energy on the kids. Congratulations, husband. Chu Jinjin, hearing this, immediately congratulated him cheerfully. Having been on Qingzhou Mountain for many years, she too was practicing cultivation and had gained quite an understanding of it. She knew that Lu Changxing's breakthrough this time was to the 7th level energy refinement, which was the energy refinement late stage. At Qingzhou Mountain, reaching the energy refinement late stage already qualified as a master. Congratulations, Daddy. Congratulations, Daddy. The 2 little ones beside also followed with their congratulations. What story is Mom telling you? Lu Changxing looked at his son and daughter, took out 2 spirit fruits from his storage bag and handed them over, as he affectionately ruffled their heads and asked with a smile. Chapter 349, The Effect of the Seven Luminaries Heart Lamp, Elder of the Nine Bags. Chu Zhenjin had 4 children, and even the youngest was already 6 years old. This made Lu Changxing marvel at how quickly time passed. He still vividly remembered making that 3-year pledge and on the way back, bringing Chu Zhenjin home from the dilapidated temple to Qingzhou Mountain. The 2 little ones then prattled on to Lu Changxing with their chirping voices. Following Lu Changxing's emergence from seclusion, his other wives and concubines came to visit one after another with their congratulations, delighted at Lu Changxing's breakthrough to the energy refinement late stage. After reuniting with his wives and family, Lu Miaoyan informed Lu Changxing that the Lu family clan assembly had already concluded. Because he was in seclusion, they did not disturb him. This year's clan assembly marked the completion of a generational handover within the Lu family. Lu Miaochang assumed the role of the new family head, while Lu Yuanding became a family elder, responsible for the family finances and assisting the new family head in managing the family. Lu Miaoga also became an executor of the family, a candidate in the next generation of elders. Lu Changxing's position as family elder was also made official. However, due to his generation and age, he was placed at the end of the line, as the 9th elder. Upon becoming an elder, besides the title, the family benefits and treatment also correspondingly improved. For the specific obligations of an elder, Lu Changxing needed to speak with the new family head, Lu Miaochang. 9th elder. Hearing this ranking, Lu Changxing smirked with a smile, his thoughts inadvertently turning to the elders ranked by bags. Husband, the transmission talisman you gave me also brought news last month. Lu Miaoyan conveyed that a woman had come looking for Lu Changxing last month. After chatting with her for a while and learning that Lu Changxing was in seclusion, the woman then left for the Red Leaf Valley market. Yuner, thank you for your hard work. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing nodded, understanding that it was Xiao Xie who had visited. But he had a pile of matters at hand and wasn't in a rush to go to the Red Leaf Valley market just yet. First, he sought out Lu Miaochang to confirm the specifics involved with these so-called elder duties. Lu Miaochang told Lu Changxing that the main duties revolved around talisman affairs. Then there was cultivating talisman path apprentices, overseeing the profits and losses of the talisman shops in the various marketplaces, along with some other trifles. After hearing this, Lu Changxing immediately refused to involve himself with the talisman shops, advising the Lu family to find someone else to manage them. He didn't want to get too involved with the core interests of the Lu family, nor did he have the spare time for it. After all, he didn't even have time to manage his own shops. Once they roughly finished their discussion, Lu Changxing informed Uncle Fu at Qingzhou Villa that he would be teaching in 3 days. After taking care of all these matters, Lu Changxing went back home to spend time with his wives, continuing with his grand endeavor of parenting. In the blink of an eye, another half a month had passed. During this half month, Lu Changxing basically didn't cultivate, he was focused on parenting. As for how many more children he would have, that would require some time to determine. One day, Lu Changxing suddenly felt a surge of pure spiritual power infusing into his own body. What is this? Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised, unsure where this spiritual power came from. It took a moment before he realized it was his son, Lu Xianji, who had made a breakthrough to the 2nd level. But this bit of cultivation is like pouring a jug of water into a pond for me at the moment. Lu Changxing lightly shook his head. After briefly showing concern for his son, he told his wives that he needed to make a trip to the Red Leaf Valley market. Before heading to the marketplace, Lu Changxing paid a visit to his father-in-law, Lu Yuanding. It wasn't that there was anything in particular, he simply wanted to take his daughter Lu Qingzhou to visit her mother. Since Lu Miaoga spent most of her time in the Red Leaf Valley market, the daughter was typically taken care of either by Lu Miaohuan or Lu Yuanding. Recently, both Lu Qingzhou and Lu Qingshan had been taken there by Lu Yuanding. Father-in-law. Upon reaching Lu Yuanding's residence, Lu Changxing immediately saw him babysitting his grandchildren. His son, Lu Qingshan, was energetically chasing a white goose with a small wooden sword. His daughter, Lu Qingzhou, on the other hand, sat quietly in Lu Yuanding's arms, watching Lu Qingshan chase the goose. Changxing, you've come. Lu Yuanding, holding his little granddaughter, greeted Lu Changxing with a beaming smile. He used to be quite busy, but after relinquishing the position of family head, he gained some leisure time. As for the elder duties, they essentially depended on oneself. If one were willing to delegate authority, it wouldn't be too busy, so he also had the leisure to spend time with the children. Daddy, ha! The goose chasing Lu Qingshan, upon spotting his father's arrival, charged over with his little legs and a swing of his sword. Seeing this, Lu Changxing reached out and caught his son by the nape and lifted the mischievous boy. Grandpa, save me! Lu Qingshan immediately called out for his grandfather's help. Daddy! Lu Qingzhu, nestled in Lu Yuanding's arms, stared at Lu Changxing, as if she took a moment to recognize her father, causing him a twinge of shame. After all, children of her age had a limited memory, and he hadn't been around much. Father-in-law, I'm planning to go to the Red Leaf Valley market, so I wanted to take Qingzhu to see Miaoge. Lu Changxing set his son down and explained his intentions. Alright, Changxing, I know you're busy now, but if you can, do try to spend more time with Miaoge and Huaner, Lu Yuanding said, nodding. Changxing understands. After chatting with Lu Yuanding for a while, Lu Changxing picked up his daughter. Looking at her little chubby, pale, and tender face, he couldn't help but give her 2 kisses and said, Qingzhu, let's go, we're going to see your mother. Every time he saw his daughter's little face, he couldn't resist kissing her. Daddy, I also want to go see Auntie. Hearing this, his son Lu Qingshan also shouted loudly. He was very fond of his aunt Lu Miaoge. Because every time, she would buy him delicious treats and fun toys. Lu Changxing glanced at his son. To be honest, he was rather reluctant to take this son out. Chapter 350, The Effect of the 7 Luminaries Heart Lamp, Elder of the 9 Bags. The problem is that this son is too lively and always needs to be watched over. Unlike his daughter Lu Qingzhu, who is usually quiet and well-behaved, not causing any fuss, very clever. Alright, since you want to go, let's go together. Thinking that he rarely spent time with the child, Lu Changxing still nodded in agreement. Seeing that Lu Changxing intended to take both children, Lu Yuanding also mentioned that he just happened to be visiting the Red Leaf Valley market and would accompany Lu Changxing. Although the Red Leaf Valley market was relatively close, he was still somewhat worried about the 2 children, who were not yet 4 years old, being taken out by Lu Changxing alone. Hearing this, Lu Changxing naturally couldn't say anything. With Lu Yuanding there, at least someone would help look after the children, saving him from a headache. Soon after, the 2 men each carried a child and rode the Iron Feather Eagle to the Red Leaf Valley market. Half a day later, the 2 arrived at the Red Leaf Valley market. The Red Leaf Valley market now had a much larger crowd than before. Lu Yuanding told Lu Changxing that the 4 big families planned to hold an auction every year starting next year, to attract more loose cultivators. He also hoped that by then, Lu Changxing could bring out some top-quality supreme talismans for the auction. An auction, good, Lu Changxing nodded upon hearing the news. Now that the Red Leaf Valley had been open for 3 years, the flow of people had reached a small bottleneck. To attract cultivators to come, naturally something had to be offered. Otherwise, with a security guarantee like Red Leaf Valley markets being average, and lacking big shops from the Qingyun Commerce Guild or Myriad Treasures Pavilion to settle in, the appeal was indeed limited. As the 2 talked and walked, they arrived at the Blue family's spiritual talisman shop of Qingzhu. Dad, Changxing, Lu Miaoge smiled when she saw Lu Changxing and Lu Yuanding arrive, carrying the 2 children. Immediately after, the group, along with the children, strolled around the market, enjoying themselves. After wandering around for a long time and finishing their meal, Lu Yuanding gave the couple some space and took the 2 children back to the Lu family's compound. Since Red Leaf Valley was initially divided by the 4 big families, the Lu family got the lion's share, taking up almost 40%. So for the Lu family people in this Red Leaf Valley market, there was no shortage of places to stay. Changxing, that Miss Xiao has come over again and is staying in the cave dwelling you used before, back at the spiritual talisman shop, Lu Miaoge said to Lu Changxing. Sister Miaoge, thank you for the trouble, Lu Changxing responded warmly upon hearing this. Having stayed in the Red Leaf Valley market for half a year previously, Xianxia was already known to Lu Miaoge. Furthermore, with Lu Miaoge's intelligence, she surely realized that the relationship between the two was not simply about cultivation. Changxing, has Miss Xiao successfully reached foundation establishment? Lu Miaoge inquired. From some information previously mentioned by Lu Changxing, she knew about Xiaoxia's attempt at foundation establishment. But Xiaoxia was reticent in nature, and since Lu Miaoge was not one to talk much either, even if they had interacted, they did not really chat. Yes, she has successfully reached foundation establishment, but she still needs some of my help for her subsequent cultivation, which is why she has come over again, Lu Changxing explained. Foundation establishment. Lu Miaoge's face showed a trace of envy and yearning upon hearing of Xiaoxia's successful foundation establishment. As a child of a cultivating family, raised from an early age to aim for foundation establishment, achieving it was the dream of all of them. However, most of them gradually realized that foundation establishment was too far out of reach. Lu Miaoge was aware that even though there was a slight chance of reaching foundation establishment, it was very slim. Sister Miaoge, I have a gift for you, Lu Changxing, seeing the expression in Lu Miaoge's eyes, knew well how her heart was set on cultivation and dreamt of breaking through to foundation establishment one day. He then took out a porcelain bottle from his storage bag. A gift? Lu Miaoge said with a smile as she took the porcelain bottle to examine it. Is this 3 Suns elixir? Looking at the elixir inside the bottle, Lu Miaoge showed a look of surprise and doubt. That's right, it is indeed the 3 Suns elixir, also known as the minor foundation establishment elixir, Sister Miaoge. Taking this 3 Suns elixir should allow you to break through directly from the 8th level of energy refinement to the 9th level, Lu Changxing said with a smile. He had also prepared a foundation establishment elixir for Lu Miaoge, so there was no need to wait until chi refinement reached perfection before taking this elixir. Taking it now would yield the same effect. You should keep this 3 Suns elixir for yourself, Lu Miaoge said with a gentle smile, her lovely and graceful appearance particularly charming. Although she didn't know where Lu Changxing had acquired this 3 Suns elixir, she was aware of its preciousness. If put on the market, one pill would be worth at least 3,000 to 4,000 spirit stones. Even though she was a top-level talisman master, she couldn't afford such a valuable elixir. After all, not all talisman masters were like Lu Changxing, possessing a 100% success rate in talisman making. Moreover, she didn't need to spend spirit stones on materials for practicing talisman making. I have already taken one, and this one is specifically for you, Sister Miaoge, Lu Changxing said with a smile. He had guessed that Lu Miaoge would refuse, so he had prepared his response. This. Changxing, thank you, Lu Miaoge said, gazing into Lu Changxing's eyes that shimmered with tenderness, and she didn't refuse any further. Between husband and wife, there is no need for thanks, Lu Changxing chuckled and continued, if Sister Miaoge plans to enter closed-door cultivation after taking the elixir, I can manage the shop. Father and Qingzhu, Qingshan have all come here, let's talk about it later, Lu Miaoge said softly. As she spoke, it seemed she remembered something and added, oh, right, your good friend Li Feiyu came by earlier, but he didn't wait for you to return, so he left some things for me to give to you. Things? Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised to hear this. In a little while, Lu Miaoge took out a storage bag from the room and handed it to Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing opened the storage bag and saw that it contained a pile of spirit stones. Almost 200 spirit stones. There was also a letter. He opened the letter to read it. Sigh. After reading the letter, Lu Changxing let out a light breath. The letter was a farewell. It mentioned that he had made arrangements with someone to head to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, so he wouldn't wait any longer for Lu Changxing. They would catch up and chat some other time. The 200 spirit stones were his current spare stones, so he wanted to pay back a portion first. As for the remaining spirit stones, he would repay them after coming back from Azure Phoenix Immortal City next time. He also told Lu Changxing not to worry, as he would return when he had time. Then, the letter mentioned some trivial matters and his own insights into the cultivation world. Ah, Feiyu is still the same old Feiyu, not willing to owe even a little. Lu Changxing sighed and shook his head. He wasn't in need of these 200 spirit stones at all right now. But these 200 spirit stones were probably all that Li Feiyu could offer at the moment. Changxing, Lu Miaoge also knew that Li Feiyu was one of Lu Changxing's few close friends. They had come to the Lu family together and shared a deep friendship. "I'm fine, just feeling a bit emotional." Lu Changxing shook his head slightly, not hiding the matter of Li Feiyu from his wife. Sometimes, having someone close to talk and confide in could make one feel much better. Since he was harboring many secrets, he would not hide ordinary matters from his wife. "Sister Miaoge, it's getting late." After talking for a long time, Lu Changxing, gazing at his wife's soft, beautiful, and stunning countenance, suddenly spoke. Immediately, he supported his lovely wife's slender shoulder and captured her full, moist, soft lips, extracting sweetness. Let's go to the room." Lu Miaoge didn't expect that while they were having a good conversation, her husband would suddenly turn romantic. Her eyelashes quivered slightly, then her arms encircled her husband's neck, and she gasped, speaking in short breaths. Chapter 351, You Are All My Wings, Superior Spiritual Root. _1. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. After a night of jubilant celebration with Lu Miaoge, Lu Changxing headed to the cave-dwelling area early the next morning. "Shiyu, it's me, open the door." Arriving at the entrance of a cave dwelling, Lu Changxing took out the transmission talisman he shared with Xianxia. After a short while, the cave dwelling's protective enchantment was lifted. In a moon-white dress, with a countenance both cold and immaculate, Xianxia appeared, as if she were a fairy from the Moon Palace. Changxing. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, the coldness on her face instantly melted away like ice and snow, revealing a smile. "Have you missed me these days?" Lu Changxing naturally took hold of Xiaoxia's soft, slippery, slender pale hand with a warm voice. After walking into the cave dwelling, he immediately drew the beauty into his embrace. The familiar rich and refreshing fragrance filled his nostrils, delightfully refreshing to the soul. Even though they were already very intimate, the fact that they hadn't seen each other for half a year and now Lu Changxing was being so affectionate upon their reunion still made Xiaoxia's cheeks flush red. However, his actions and soft words didn't repulse her, on the contrary, they made her heart, which was supposed to be aloof from worldly emotions, tremble. She didn't suppress her feelings, and with slightly trembling beautiful eyes, she whispered softly, "I did. Shiyu misses me, and I have also been constantly thinking of Shiyu." Lu Changxing said, holding the warm and fragrant beauty in his embrace, whispering in her ear. Upon hearing this, waves of sweetness surged in Xiaoxia's heart. But she was no naive girl to be easily deceived. Her beautiful eyes rippled like water, and with a charming smile, she said, "Humph, sweet talker, with so many wives and concubines at home, you couldn't possibly remember me. Shiyu, are you jealous? You are all my wings, how could I forget you? I've come to see you as soon as I had time." Lu Changxing smiled and said no more on the subject, speaking softly, "Shiyu, let me see how your Dao foundation is doing." Xiaoxia couldn't help but let out a soft moan from her nose and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. With rustling sounds, her two long and straight legs tensed up. Wrapped in moon-white silk stockings, her snow-white jade feet, with 10 crystal-clear toes, unconsciously curled up. After a long while. Afterwards. Xiaoxia refined the yin-yang energies and solidified her Dao foundation. She said gently, nestling in Lu Changxing's embrace, "Changxing, I've heard some news inside the sect. Meng Yibai, the grandson of Immortal Meng, the one we encountered in the Qingyun market before, he's dead," Xiaoxia revealed. Meng Yibai was not just the grandson of a false core immortal. He was also a core disciple of the Qingyun sect. Even within an immortal sect like Qingyun, foundation establishment cultivators were extremely precious and considered a central force. Furthermore, Meng Yibai was no ordinary foundation establishment cultivator. Now fallen outside, his death was no small news within the Qingyun sect. Meng Yibai? Lu Changxing was caressing a ripe and plump softness as full as the full moon, and upon hearing these words, he raised an eyebrow. Xianxia must have guessed that he was involved in the news since she had told him about it. He didn't choose to hide it and chuckled lightly. After I left the marketplace, he inexplicably pursued me intending to kill, so I had no choice but to slay him. Xianxia showed no sign of surprise upon hearing this. Just as Lu Changxing had guessed, when she heard the news, she had a vague feeling that it concerned him. Especially after understanding the general situation and who Meng Yibai was, she was almost certain that Meng Yibai had died at the hands of Lu Changxing. Although she didn't know how Lu Changxing, who had just broken through to Foundation establishment, managed to kill Meng Yibai, who was in the mid-stages of Foundation establishment, the Yin-Yang 5 Elements Foundation base and his past performance of slaying the man in the red robe made his image in her heart loom large and grand. She felt that although the event was shocking, it was within reason. After all, the man Xianxia fancied was never that simple. Changxing, although Immortal Meng did not bring the investigation to you, I found out she went to Qingyan Market to inquire, and it's very possible she will target us. She refrains from questioning me only because she considers my master's position. As far as I know, Immortal Meng was very fond of her grandson Meng Yibai and won't let this matter rest. She will continue investigating. I've come down from the mountain in disguise, concealing my identity. You should also be careful in the future. Xianxia said softly, still nestled in Lu Changxing's embrace. Having guessed that it was Lu Changxing who committed the act, she naturally went to understand the situation. Knowing that Lady Meng had immediately left the Qingyun sect to investigate after Meng Yibai's death and had gone to Qingyun Market, it was possible that she and Lu Changxing could end up on the suspect list. Moreover, cultivators don't always rely on evidence when they take action. Especially when there is a power disparity between the parties, evidence is even less likely to come into play. Being the disciple of a core formation master, she herself was not worried. However, if Lu Changxing were to be targeted, he could face danger and trouble. This was why she revealed the situation to Lu Changxing. All right, I'll be careful, Lu Changxing said, his eyes narrowing slightly in acknowledgement. True, he had refined the resentful wraith threads, preventing the false core Immortal from tracking him down. But the place where he had killed Meng Yibai was not far from Qingyun Marketplace. If the Qingyun sect were to investigate, they might be able to uncover some clues. After all, the cultivation world was full of various means, and such matters were unpredictable. Shiyu, what about the Qingyun sect? How have they reacted to Meng Yibai's death? Lu Changxing inquired. He wanted to know how the Qingyun sect typically dealt with such situations. The sect has ordered the punishment hall to investigate, Xianxia responded. Chapter 352, You Are All My Wings, Superior Spiritual Root. But even Master Meng himself hasn't been able to find any related information, and the punishment hall was merely going through the motions. Xianxia said softly, shaking her head. The death of a core disciple, although it enraged the Qingyun sect, was not enough to wage a full-scale war. All right. Lu Changxing nodded in agreement. Now that almost half a year had passed without any movement from Qingyun's sect or that Master Meng, it indicated that this matter was currently not traced back to himself. However, since that Master Meng had lost a grandson, he was certain not to give up easily, so he still needed to be cautious and vigilant. In the very least, several spiritual artifacts, the Earth Spirit Mouse, the pet egg, and that talisman treasure on Meng Yibai's person couldn't be exposed carelessly. If they were to be revealed or sold openly, it might catch the attention of Qingyun's sect, or perhaps that Master Meng. The two chatted and after a moment of affection, Lu Changxing got up to leave. He had his wife and children to take care of and couldn't stay with Xianxia all the time. This trip was also to check on Xianxia and to repair her Dao foundation. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During these days, Lu Changxing had been at the Red Leaf Valley Market. Every day he was making talismans, refining the 9-treasure jade rui, dual cultivating with Lu Miaoga while raising a child, and repairing Xiaoxia's Dao foundation. His life was indeed immensely fulfilling. With his foundation establishment now, the speed of refining the 9 treasure jade rui had also increased significantly. In at most 1 year's time, he would be able to completely refine this heaven-reaching spiritual treasure, integrate it into his body, and use it for the cultivation of the 100 refinements treasure body art. As the frequency of dual cultivation increased, Lu Changxing also increasingly realized the importance of a robust body. But now, although his physique was good, ordinary consorts were somewhat unable to withstand his powerful thrusting. It made Lu Changxing feel that if his 100 refinements treasure body technique were to advance a few more levels, he wouldn't be able to enjoy intercourse to the fullest, and he would need to find a few female cultivators who were also body cultivators. About half a month ago, after Lu Miaoge took the 3 Suns elixir, she smoothly broke through from the 8th level energy refinement to the 9th level. It was estimated that in about 5 or 6 years, she would reach the peak of energy refinement and be ready to attempt foundation establishment. While living a fulfilling life in the Red Leaf Valley market, Lu Changxing did not forget his wives and concubines at home. After speaking with Lu Miaoge and Xiao Xia, he returned to Jianghu Mountain. After all, his main base was still at Jianghu Mountain. He also always remembered his initial resolve, firmly adhering to 2 principles of endeavor: properly nurture the children, properly father children. After returning to Jianghu Mountain, Lu Changxing learned that his efforts over the past half-month had led to his concubine Kuei Si becoming pregnant. To this, Lu Changxing felt gratified in his heart. After asking after the well-being of his wives and children, he continued with his great endeavor of fathering children. After staying on Jianghu Mountain for more than half a month and another maid becoming pregnant, Lu Changxing rode the Iron Feather Eagle and headed for Rui Prefecture. One reason was to check on his wives and children. Another was to see the young girl Bai Ling. After all, it had been half a year since they last saw each other. He didn't want the young girl to forget him. Moreover, she could also try to start cultivating now. Upon arriving at Rui Prefecture, Lu Changxing visited his home and then went to see where Bai Ling lived. Brother, Bai Ling was learning weaving with Granny Zhao. Seeing Lu Changxing arrive, her little face immediately showed a look of delight as she trotted over. She was still dressed in that exquisite white Lucien skirt. But to Lu Changxing, looking at Bai Ling now, he felt that compared to half a year ago, she seemed to have gained a certain allure. Though allure was hardly suitable for a 12-year-old girl, it was the feeling that Lu Changxing got. And he could clearly sense that it was not an illusion. She really had changed in that respect. This led Lu Changxing to speculate that it must be related to Bai Ling's physical condition. After all, he had previously observed her eyes reflecting a ripple of the mental spirit, slightly absent-minded. Master. Granny Zhao, seeing Lu Changxing, spoke respectfully. She knew that her current way of life was all thanks to the fortunes of Bai Ling. So she always presented herself with proper regard to her status, and routinely encouraged Bai Ling to keep Lu Changxing in her thoughts. How has little Linger been doing lately? Lu Changxing nodded and then, looking at the little lass in front of him, rubbed her hair tied in twin ponytails and asked warmly. Linger has been so happy lately. Not only do I have delicious food, but Wuyo, Sheila, and Rui also take me out to play. Bai Ling looked up happily, recounting the details of her life. Having not seen Lu Changxing for half a year, she missed him deeply. Not only did Lu Changxing save her, but he was also like a ray of light that gradually healed her scar-filled heart. Because of this, she felt a special affection for Lu Changxing. Little Linger, do you remember brother once told you that you have a celestial fate? Lu Changxing listened to Bai Ling's words. After chatting for a long time, he spoke. Brother, can Linger really cultivate? Bai Ling asked with bright eyes, full of hope at his words. Over the past half a year, although she mostly stayed at home, because of Lu Changxing's instructions, people like Lu Wuyo, Lu Sheila, and Lu Rui would come to keep her company and play with her. Through this, she gained a bit of understanding about Lu Changxing, celestial fate, and cultivation. Therefore, she always anticipated that she truly had a celestial fate, so she could cultivate and stay by Lu Changxing's side. Of course, how could brother deceive you? Lu Changxing smiled and took Bai Ling towards the Lu residence. At the back courtyard of the Lu residence, he had set up a modest spirit gathering array, whose spiritual energy was enough to facilitate the meditation of cultivators in the early to middle stages of energy refinement. Walking on the streets, when passers-by went by, Lu Changxing saw Bai Ling look somewhat timid, clutching his hand tightly. Chapter 353, You Are All My Wings, Superior Spiritual Root. Clearly still suffering from social anxiety, she is shy with strangers. She understood that the other person appeared normal and natural only in front of her. Once she left home and faced strangers, her social anxiety would be triggered again. Lu Changxing also knew that this was a psychological trauma. It was not something that could be completely healed in a short time. It's okay, your brother is here, Lu Changxing pinched her small hand and said to her gently. Hum. While looking at Lu Changxing's handsome and spirited face and listening to his words, Bai Ling felt as if a spring breeze was caressing her face, bringing a sense of peace and tranquility to her heart, dispelling her fears. They arrived at the backyard of the Lu residence where a small spirit gathering array was set up, and Lu Changxing began to teach Bai Ling the returning origin technique. This cultivation technique was attributeless. Not only was it simple for beginners, but it also made it convenient to switch to other cultivation techniques later on. After Lu Changxing's half-day of explanations, Bai Ling had understood the methods of cultivation. Through her efforts, she was able to sense nature's spiritual energy and started trying to draw it into her body. This spiritual energy is so harmonious. Lu Changxing watched as Bai Ling sat cross-legged, her little face focused and serious as she absorbed nature's spiritual energy, a look of surprise in his eyes. As a foundation establishment cultivator, he could clearly detect the spiritual energy meandering through the air. And the speed at which Bai Ling was drawing the spiritual energy into her body was of a very high caliber. He watched over her quietly as she practiced her cultivation. Brother, I did as you said, allowing the breath to flow through here, and then I held it here. After half an hour, Bai Ling opened her eyes and gestured with her hands as she spoke. Just half an hour to refine the first strand of spiritual energy, and this within the humble spirit gathering array of the mortal world. Lu Changxing was somewhat shocked. He still remembered that he, with only a 9th grade spiritual root, had spent an entire night at Jianghu Villa to cultivate his first strand of spiritual energy. So it seems that Bai Ling's spiritual root is at least of high quality. Or even if it isn't a high-quality spiritual root, her constitution may enable her to cultivate at a speed not inferior to those with high-quality spiritual roots. Lu Changxing made a judgment in his mind. He had previously examined Bai Ling's body with his divine sense. But Bai Ling's condition was quite special. It made it impossible for him to discern the state of her body or the quality of her spiritual root. He didn't even understand what was the deal with the snake scales on her hand. Brother? Bai Ling saw Lu Changxing staring at her, lost in thought, and called out softly. She was worried that she had done something wrong and disappointed him. No, it's nothing, little Linger, you did really well to achieve this so quickly. Lu Changxing came back to his senses, ruffled her little head, and said with a warm smile. He. Bai Ling, hearing his words, immediately showed a happy and contented smile. Should I take Bai Ling to Jianghu Mountain? Lu Changxing pondered internally. In the mundane world, although there was the small spirit gathering array, it wouldn't affect early-stage cultivation. But it still couldn't compare to Jianghu Mountain. Moreover, taking Bai Ling to Jianghu Mountain would make it easier for him to monitor her condition and cultivate their relationship. After thinking it over briefly, Lu Changxing decided to take Bai Ling back to Jianghu Mountain. It was ultimately somewhat inconvenient in the mundane world. Furthermore, given Bai Ling's condition, she would have to be taken to Jianghu Mountain sooner or later. It might as well be now. Besides, Bai Ling's rate of cultivation suggested she had at least a high-quality spiritual root, which made him uneasy about leaving her in the mundane world. Even though the mundane world would not have any powerful cultivators, one must always guard against the unexpected. What if a powerful cultivator happened to pass by, saw Bai Ling's unusual talents, and took her away? At Jianghu Mountain, at least, it would be much safer. Ah, if only I had my own spiritual land, my own home, things would be so much more convenient and stable. I wouldn't need to be so busy all the time, running from place to place. Lu Changxing suddenly thought. If he had his own spiritual land, situations like Bai Ling's would be much more manageable. Xiaoxia wouldn't need to live in the Red Leaf Valley market all the time. And for offsprings without spiritual roots like Lu Pingan, once they reached adulthood, they could live in a small village or a small town on the spiritual land. Indeed, at a certain point, one really does need a home of their own, Lu Changxing sighed inwardly. He then informed Bai Ling that he was preparing to take her to another home of his. Upon hearing this, Bai Ling was also very happy. It was just that she felt a bit reluctant to leave the few friends she had just made, Lu Wuyo, Lu Shila, and Lu Rui. After all, when she was in the village, she had always been despised, labeled a monster, and never had any friends. Now that she had finally made a few, the prospect of parting and not seeing them for a long time saddened her. It's okay, brother will come to visit them when I have time, and I can bring you along then, Lu Changxing ruffled the little girl's head and said with a smile. He hadn't expected that in only half a year, Bai Ling would have formed a friendship with his daughters. After living at home for a little less than half a month, Lu Changxing took Bai Ling and Granny Zhao to Jianghu Mountain. Bai Ling had severe social anxiety and lacked a sense of security. Taking her to Jianghu Mountain when he was not around would surely make her feel insecure, but Granny Zhao's presence would make it much better. Chapter 354, Changxing, are you willing to join the Qinyan sect? _1. 3 days later, a spirit boat descended outside Jianghu Mountain. Lu Changxing brought Bai Ling and Granny Zhao into Jianghu Mountain. Now as an elder of the Lu family, taking 2 people into Jianghu Valley was naturally a piece of cake. He merely had to explain the situation briefly, no need to register and report as before. Husband, who are these 2? Lu Miaoyan asked as she looked at Bai Ling, who was holding Lu Changxing's hand with a timid expression on her face. In the past, Lu Changxing often brought women home. But in recent years, he hardly ever brought anyone home from outside. Seeing Bai Ling's demeanor, she even thought it was a daughter Lu Changxing had outside. After all, with so many maids in her husband's household, it made sense for some children to be scattered outside that she had never met. Yuner, this is Bai Ling, Lu Changxing began to explain Bai Ling's situation to Lu Miaoyan. But he didn't go into detail. He simply said that he passed by a village and rescued Bai Ling. Discovering that Bai Ling had a spiritual root and was not lacking in talent, he brought her back to Jianghu Mountain. Lu Miaoyan, being very perceptive and having been Lu Changxing's wife for many years, immediately picked up on the implications of his words. Knowing that Bai Ling could receive such attention from her own husband, she must be extraordinary. Perhaps when she grew up, she might even become part of the family as a younger sister. She then promptly settled Bai Ling and Granny Zhao down in the manor for care. 3 days later, Lu Yuanding came looking for Lu Changxing. He told him that the auction held by the 4 major families at Red Leaf Valley Market was starting in 3 months. The Lu family would provide a batch of high-quality talisman materials. The Bai family would put out a batch of high-quality spirit birds. The Yu and Jing families would also bring out a batch of high-quality resources. Moreover, the 4 major families had also invited other families, forces, and loose cultivators to the auction. Father-in-law, these are the supreme talismans I've prepared. They are all premium talismans. Lu Yuanding had already discussed the matter with him, so Lu Changxing immediately knew his intention and took out a stack of supreme talismans. These talismans were considered premium among the supreme talismans, rare talismans. Very good, Changxing, you've worked hard, said Lu Yuanding, looking at the talismans with a satisfied smile. Patted Lu Changxing on the shoulder and added, rest assured, the family will compensate you for these talismans according to your contribution. I am now an elder of the family, it's only right for me to make some contributions to the family, Lu Changxing said with a smile. First-grade supreme talismans and second-rank talismans are very rare for ordinary cultivators. Usually, they would need to reserve or scramble to buy them. But to him, they were just a matter of a few spirit stones in cost. Lu Yuanding was deeply touched when he heard this. After all, In his eyes, although Lu Changxing was proficient in the talisman path, he was still a first-grade talisman master. He had not yet advanced to a second-grade talisman master. It must not have been easy to create so many premium supreme talismans. It certainly took a lot of time and effort. He might even have made a loss while making these talismans. He felt moved as he looked towards Lu Changxing and said, "Changxing, I heard from Miaoga that she was able to break through to the 9th level energy refinement because you gave her an elixir medicine. It's a good intention, and I, as a father, am delighted about it, but you should consider your own situation more. With so many wives and children depending on you at home, the expenses are already large. Don't be wasteful like that in the future." Lu Yuanding said to Lu Changxing earnestly. Originally, he was quite unhappy that Lu Changxing married 2 of his daughters at once. But over time, seeing that Lu Changxing treated both of his daughters well, and did not treat his own daughter as a mere breeding tool, his unhappiness gradually faded away. He began to treat Lu Changxing as a son. So he also hoped that Lu Changxing could cultivate properly, not to waste resources and hinder himself. He had also heard about Lu Changsheng's way of raising children. As soon as a child was detected with a spiritual root, he would buy elixir medicines that solidified their foundation and cultivated their essence. All wives and children regularly consumed spirit rice and spirit food. This made him shake his head involuntarily. Even though Lu Changxing was a talisman master, with a rewarded 100 acres of spirit field by the family, a spiritual talisman shop in Red Leaf Valley Market, and a cave dwelling, his finances wouldn't hold up with such expenditures. Changxing understands that elixir medicine was obtained coincidentally, and since I don't have a use for it right now, I gave it to Sister Miaoga, Lu Changxing said, smiling. Lu Changxing replied with a smile. It's good to have that intention, but still, your cultivation level should be the priority. Once you advance to second-grade talisman master, save up more spirit stones. Maybe then you can go to Immortal City and try to purchase a foundation establishment elixir to attempt foundation establishment, Lu Yuanding said. He certainly knew about Lu Changsheng's breakthrough to the energy refinement late stage. Breaking through to the energy refinement late stage in his 30s, even with a 9th-grade spiritual root, there was a hope of attempting foundation establishment. Although this hope was extremely slim. But at least there was a slim chance. Father-in-law, you know that I'm not a man of great ambition, so I'm not interested in the elusive prospect of foundation establishment. Rather than spending so many spirit stones on a slim chance of foundation establishment, I'd rather spend them on the children. Maybe one of these children will be able to reach foundation establishment in the future. Lu Changxing grinned and said. He naturally knew that Lu Yuanding meant well, trying to comfort him. Spending all the spirit stones on his wives and children would burden himself. But there was no way he could be candid about these matters, so he continued to maintain his stance. "Sai, as long as you're aware of it, that's fine," Lu Yuanding replied, giving up on persuading further. He then changed the topic, saying, "Time flies so fast, in 2 more years, Qing Shan and Qing Zhu will also be of age to test for their spiritual roots. I think Qing Shan is quite bright, he should have a spiritual root, and a good one at that." Chapter 355, Changxing, are you willing to join the Qingyun sect? Lu Changxing responded with a laugh. Among all his children at the moment, only Lu Qingshan was the one he had high hopes for. Not only did he possess a middle-grade spiritual root, but he also had a Gingjin body constitution. He was truly someone with a promising future. Sister Miaoga has a 5th-grade spiritual root, so Qing Zhu's spiritual root should also be quite good, Lu Changxing added. Although his son was indeed formidable, he couldn't forget his darling daughter. Especially in front of his father-in-law. He. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanding also revealed a smile. But there was still a trace of worry in his eyes. After all, it was common for children not to inherit spiritual roots even if both parents had them. In the blink of an eye, more than a month had passed. During this period, Lu Changxing had 3 more children. It's worth mentioning that Bai Ling had completed qi refinement and broke through to the first layer 5 days earlier. In just over a month, without relying on any elixir medicines, she made a breakthrough, which surprised Lu Changxing. He couldn't help but lament that sometimes the difference in talent between people was even greater than that between humans and orangutans. At the same time, his expectations for Bai Ling's future grew even more. Inside the practice room, another drop of liquid mana has been condensed. Lu Changxing, who was sitting cross-legged, opened his eyes and exhaled softly. My cultivation involves either dual cultivation or popping pills. It feels like I'm taking shortcuts. But with the 7 luminaries heart lamp burning mana and purging elixir toxicity, solidifying the foundation, my mana is quite orthodox and upright, so it's not really a crooked path, Lu Changxing contemplated as he looked at the liquid mana in his Dan lake and shook his head. After leaving the practice room and informing his wives and concubines, he prepared to head to the Red Leaf Valley market. He had been at home for quite a while now and needed to transfer the yin-yang energies to Xianxia as well. Since there was just over a month left until the auction held by the Red Leaf Valley market began, Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and others also expressed a desire to go and have a look. I have some matters to take care of this trip. I'll come back to pick you all up later, Lu Changxing said immediately upon hearing his wife's words. After reassuring his family, he rode the Iron Feather Eagle to the Red Leaf Valley market. Walking through the market, Lu Changxing noticed a significant increase in the number of people. On the streets, there were also more patrolling enforcers from the 4 major families. This was clearly due to the upcoming auction. If at this time, some demon cultivator or heretic cultivator decided to cause trouble, I'm afraid the market might not recover for 3 to 5 years. But with the Patriarch of the Yu family presiding over the event and the ancestors of the 4 major families coming, I doubt anyone will make a scene, Lu Changxing thought to himself. He also knew that running a marketplace was not simple. Upon arrival at his Peace Talisman Hall, he inquired about the overall situation of the shop from Gao He and looked over the accounts. Aside from the supreme talismans he supplied himself, the shop made a profit of roughly 200 spirit stones a month from selling and purchasing low-grade talismans and materials like talisman paper and spiritual ink. This amount was not much, but it was acceptable. If including the 3 supreme talismans he provided each month, it was about 800 spirit stones. While chatting with Gao He, upon learning that his supreme talismans were in demand and had a good reputation, Lu Changxing thought for a moment and increased the monthly allocation from 3 to 5. It wasn't that he didn't want to earn more money. It was that his talismans were indeed limited. Every time he went into seclusion or was busy, there was no time for talisman making. He could only consume his inventory. Moreover, he had to provide a batch of talismans to the Lu family each month. If he supplied his shop with a large quantity of talismans while also providing for the Lu family, it would seem like his success rate in talisman making was too high. So, he had to take it slow. Once he revealed himself as a second-grade talisman master, he would gradually increase the number of supreme talismans. After looking over the accounts and knowing that his shop was on the right track and profitable, Lu Changxing didn't inquire or worry too much. He planned to throw his children into the shop in a few years for their own experience. Afterward, Lu Changxing visited the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop, chatted, and dual cultivated with his wife Lu Miaoga to deepen their affection. After spending time with Lu Miaoga, Lu Changxing went to visit Xianxia in their dwelling. Among all his wives and concubines, it was only with Xianxia that dual cultivation was most delightful and effective. And with his help of yin-yang energies, Xianxia's Dao foundation finally showed some improvement. They could see that the cracks and crevices in her Dao foundation were beginning to heal slightly. Lu Changxing and Xianxia estimated that about 30 more sessions were needed to completely repair the damage. Afterward. Shiyu, in some time, the Red Leaf Valley Market is going to hold an auction event. Take these talismans and put them up for auction. Lu Changxing, holding Xianxia, took out a stack of second-rank talismans from his storage bag. He didn't have many spirit stones, just over 6,000, all of which he had acquired from Meng Yibai. But spirit stones get used up so quickly. With the auction ahead, Lu Changxing planned to use this opportunity to sell a batch of talismans. After all, his second-rank talismans were not easy to sell in the Red Leaf Valley market. In other large marketplaces, they could only be sold at a discount, definitely not as good as at an auction event. Second-rank talismans? Xianxia was surprised to see Lu Changxing take out a stack of about 20 talismans. She then asked, "Changxing, did you draw these talismans yourself, or?" She was aware that Lu Changxing was a talisman master, but she didn't know the extent of his talisman-making skill. Only during their decade-long agreement had Hongyi mentioned that Lu Changxing was a top-grade talisman master. But this sudden appearance of so many talismans made her feel as if Lu Changxing had drawn them himself. Chapter 356, Changxing, are you willing to join the Qinyan sect? Part of it was drawn by myself, and some were gifts from kind-hearted people, Lu Changxing opened his mouth to say. Reaching foundation establishment, the Yin-Yang 5 Elements foundation base, Xianxia knew about these things, and he didn't mind revealing a bit more about other aspects. After all, he, Lu Changxing, was not really living off a woman. Since he intended to bring his girl home, it was natural to show some of his own strength and charm. Changxing, your talisman-making skills have reached the second rank. Xianxia heard this, her stunning face showing surprise and astonishment. The outer sect disciples of Qinyan sect all had to learn the 100 skills of cultivation. The inner sect disciples and core disciples could choose to learn. Therefore, she knew very well how difficult it was to advance one of the cultivation skills to the second rank. In Qinyan sect, these outer sect disciples had to spend decades to possibly advance a skill to the second rank. And yet, in just over a decade, not only had Lu Changxing's cultivation level broken through to foundation establishment, but he had also become a second-grade talisman master, which was truly astounding. One must know that every cultivator's energy is limited. Spreading one's energy to learn other skills would inevitably delay their cultivation progress. This is why in Qinyan sect, only the outer sect disciples are required to learn the 100 skills of cultivation, while inner sect disciples can choose themselves. But a second-grade talisman master only, is it worth such a big fuss from you, Shiyu? Lu Changxing looked at Xiaoxia's surprised expression, chuckled lightly, and spoke with a relaxed and indifferent tone. In his heart, he still felt a bit smug. There is a saying, wealth and honor unacknowledged is like walking in brocade at night. Even after many years of cultivation, Lu Changxing still felt he was a common man. Not only did he still like young and beautiful fairies, but he also harbored the desire to show off in front of others. Unfortunately, conditions did not permit. To be prudent and to survive, he had to keep all that hidden. Now, he could only reveal a little in front of Xiaoxia. Shiyu is just surprised that you, Lu Lang, have such astonishing talent in talisman making. Xiaoxia smiled, her beautiful eyes somewhat infatuated as she looked at Lu Changxing. In this survival of the fittest cultivation world, many people are influenced to admire the strong. And Lu Changxing was already the man she favored. Seeing her beloved's excellence made her feel even more extraordinary. I also broke through to the second rank on the talisman path after my divine sense greatly increased following my foundation establishment breakthrough. Lu Changxing did not get carried away, laughingly shook his head as he spoke. Although this was a white lie, divine sense was indeed helpful for talisman making. Or rather, with divine sense, doing anything became much more convenient. A foundation establishment great cultivator who is willing to spend the time to study the 100 skills of cultivation will be several times, even dozens of times better than an ordinary cultivator. But this also shows your innate talent in this area, Changxing. Xiaoxia's eyes curved like crescent moons as she spoke. After speaking, she seemed to think of something and asked aloud, by the way, Changxing, what are your future plans? Plans? Lu Changxing hadn't expected Xiaoxia to suddenly ask about this matter. He pondered for a moment. I'm not a man of great ambition, actually. To have come this far is also because I had some good fortune and opportunities. If I had to say, I plan to find a spiritual vein and establish my own cultivation family once the children are grown. Lu Changxing spoke out loud. Finding a spiritual vein and establishing a family. Xiaoxia heard this and nodded thoughtfully. She also knew that Lu Changxing liked children and had many of them. Planning to establish his own family in the future also made sense. Changxing, to establish a family, you first need a spiritual vein. At present, most of the spiritual lands in Jianghu country have been occupied, unless one heads to the Great Dream Marsh, the Myriad Beasts mountain range, or the bitter, cold frontier lands of other countries. Have you considered joining the Qinyan sect? Xianxia asked aloud. She had just heard that Lu Changxing possessed the skills of a second-grade talisman master and wanted to invite him to join the Qinyan sect. It wasn't for the sake of Qinyan sect's recruitment. She simply thought that now that Lu Changxing had established his foundation, he could consider moving to a better environment. And in Jianghu country, as one of the three great immortal sects under the hegemony of the Heavenly Sword sect, the Qinyan sect naturally counted as a promising destination. Join the Qinyan sect? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow. That's right, Changxing. With your second-grade talisman master skills, you could enter Qinyan sect through the route of a guest elder position. Moreover, the Qinyan sect has many spiritual vein-blessed lands for rent or sale. As long as you join the Qinyan sect, with a certain number of years and contributions, I could also look for an opportunity to request my master to arrange a top-quality spiritual land for you. Xianxia spoke softly. To join the Qinyan sect, is second-rank skills all that's required? Lu Changxing asked upon hearing her words. He wasn't averse to joining the Qinyan sect. After all, it was good to lean on a strong tree for shelter. If he were to join the Qinyan sect, having the Qinyan sect as a supportive backdrop would certainly make his actions much more convenient and secure. Previously, at the Qinyan Commerce Guild, he had heard about entering the Qinyan sect through the channel of demonstrating skills. He had not expected Xianxia to bring it up as well. Furthermore, her mention of using the Qinyan sect's connections to secure a top-quality spiritual land for himself was particularly enticing. After all, he had previously paid attention to spiritual lands and knew that obtaining a decent spirit vein-blessed land was difficult. Seeking one through affiliation with an immortal sect, renting, or purchasing was a relatively good approach. Of course not, second-rank skills are merely a threshold. Every 3 years, Qinyan sect holds a 100 skills conference. This conference is aimed at recruiting array masters, alchemists, artifact refiners, talisman masters. Anyone who passes the assessment can enter the Qinyan sect to become a guest elder. However, I believe that as long as you, Lu Lang, are willing, with your talent in the talisman path, you will certainly pass the assessment when the time comes. Xianxia said with a smile. I see. Lu Changxing nodded upon hearing this. He hadn't expected Qinyan sect to recruit talents in this manner. It made him wonder if the recommendation from Qinyan Commerce Guild previously was meant for this 100 skills conference. Speaking of which, I heard before that the Qinyan Commerce Guild can recommend people to join the Qinyan sect. Is it for this 100 skills conference? Lu Changxing inquired. Correct. Although Qinyan sect is open to recruiting talents, it cannot possibly accept just anyone. One must have an unsullied background, hence there's this level of selection. Either become a guest elder under the Qinyan sect's influence and pass multiple assessments, or have a Qinyan sect's elder's recommendation as a guarantee. If you are willing, Lu Lang, I can take care of this recommendation spot for you. Xianxia said aloud. There's no rush for this. Currently, it's not appropriate for me to reveal my achievements in the talisman path. And it also isn't convenient to reveal my cultivation level, so if I want to enter the Qinyan sect relying on talisman making, I'll have to wait a few more years. After pondering for a moment, Lu Changxing said as much. Emichim. Xianxia understood this rationale and nodded with a smile. So far, Lu Changxing had been assisting her, and she wanted to be of help to him as well. Thinking about her preparations before descending the mountain this time, her cheeks blushed slightly. Chapter 357, The World's Spirit Plant, The Luminous Treasure Tree. _1. Lu Changxing and Xianxia, after disguising themselves, assumed new identities to attend the auction held at Red Leaf Valley Market. Although the auction would not start for another month, these 3 months were also a period for warming up. They not only invited major powers to participate but also welcomed loose cultivators with precious materials and treasures to come for appraisal and auction. Many loose cultivators might acquire some treasures with which they were unfamiliar and had to spend spirit stones to seek appraisers for authentication. And, to attract more people, the 4 great families invited several appraisers to reside at the auction venue, offering free authentication services. I have seen the 2 seniors. What brings the 2 seniors here? To appraise treasures or to auction? As soon as Lu Changsheng and Xianxia entered the auction venue, the person in charge, who was inside, felt a tremor throughout his body, hurried forward, and revealed a respectful and flattering demeanor. The reason was simple: Xianxia didn't hold back her aura, displaying a hint of foundation establishment energy. In the world of cultivation, often, just revealing a bit of one's strength could make many tasks much more convenient. Both. Xianxia said in an even tone. Her voice also underwent a slight change, becoming colder and more noble. The 2 seniors, please come up to the 2nd floor. The person in charge extremely reverently bowed and led the 2 to the 3rd floor of the venue. The loose cultivators waiting in line for treasure appraisal, upon seeing this scene, didn't think that the 2 had jumped the queue or that there was anything inappropriate in the behavior of the person in charge. Instead, they all looked on with respect, admiration, envy, and curiosity at Lu Changsheng and Xianxia. The environment on the 2nd floor was particularly elegant. Lu Changsheng and Xianxia were shown to a private room and had just taken their seats when a middle-aged man, adorned in splendid attire, hurried over. His face was scholarly, and he wore a blue magical robe emblazoned with flowing spiritual light. Upon seeing the 2, he bowed, saying, I have seen the 2 seniors. I am Yuzhenguang, humbly in charge of this auction venue and also an appraiser. May I inquire about what the 2 seniors wish to auction or have appraised? One needed to verify their identity upon entering the marketplace and procure an identity token. If a foundation establishment great cultivator came by, the marketplace would of course receive them with the utmost courtesy. But the foundation establishment great cultivators who had recently entered the marketplace did not include the 2 present. Thus, he knew the 2 did not wish to reveal their identities and dared not inquire further. After all, for an unknown foundation establishment great cultivator, one must adopt the correct attitude. Take a look at these talismans. Xianxia took out a stack of talismans and gently placed them on the table. Talismans? Yuzhenguang carefully took the talismans, examined them for a moment, and then looked back at Xianxia with an added depth of reverence in his eyes. Seniors, these talismans are all 2nd rank low grade, but I can see that they are all premium talismans. May I know if the seniors wish to auction or directly sell them? Yuzhenguang asked respectfully and politely. Auction. Xianxia said calmly. No problem, I will arrange it right away for the seniors. However, there is some time before the auction starts. Do the seniors wish to store the talismans with our auction house until then, or? Yuzhenguang asked. I will come over when the time comes. Xianxia said calmly. Very well, when the seniors arrive, you can present this token, and I will immediately make the necessary arrangements, Yuzhenguang said, taking out a token. Do you recognize what kind of demon beast egg this is? At that moment, Lu Changsheng took a pale aqua egg from his storage bag, placed it on the table, and inquired. It was indeed the pet egg harvested from Meng Yabai's spiritual pet bag. With the sheer number of demon beasts, it was incredibly difficult to identify them through their eggs. After searching, Lu Changsheng couldn't find what kind of demon beast egg it was or how to hatch it. Now that there was an opportunity, he wanted to see if the other party knew. A demon beast egg? Yuzhenguang looked at the demon beast egg in front of him. He then respectfully bowed, picked up the egg, and scrutinized it carefully. After examining it for a moment, his eyes shone with a golden light, evidently employing a type of visual art for identification. Seniors, please wait a moment while I confirm this, he said, bowing to Lu Changsheng and taking out a jade scroll from his storage bag to consult. After looking through a couple of jade scrolls, he finally spoke. Seniors, if I am not mistaken, this should be the egg of a green jade luan bird. A green jade luan bird? Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's eyebrows lifted. Yes, this is information about the demon beast, the green jade luan bird, Yu Zhenguang said, handing over the jade scroll to Lu Changsheng. The green jade luan bird, an earth-grade middle bloodline. It is rumored that the green jade luan bird has a trace of the azure phoenix true spirit's bloodline, making it quite outstanding among earth-grade bloodlines. With proper nurturing, it could potentially become a third-rank demon king. Lu Changsheng looked at the jade scroll, which depicted a luan bird that resembled green jade in its entirety, strikingly beautiful, vivid, and full of an immortal aura. Below was a simple introduction about this green jade luan bird. But he did not see anything regarding the hatching and nurturing methods of the green jade luan bird. Do you know how to hatch and nurture this green jade luan bird? Lu Changsheng asked. His current mount was still the trash iron feather eagle. If he knew how to hatch and nurture the green jade luan bird, he might consider raising it. Setting aside its combat capabilities, the green jade luan bird was indeed pleasing to the eye. Senior, I do not know about the hatching and nurturing methods for this green jade luan bird. However, I have heard that the green jade luan bird is fond of the sky blue warm jade. You may try building a nest with sky blue warm jade in a place abundant with spiritual energy to incubate this demon beast egg. It might be helpful, Yu Zhenguang said with a wry smile. All right, thank you, Lu Changsheng nodded and put the pet egg away. He knew that the methods for hatching and nurturing demon beasts were often closely guarded secrets. Chapter 358, The World Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. Ordinary cultivators find it difficult to access. Even more so for a green jade luan bird, a demon beast of earth-grade bloodline. The method to hatch and rear one is even more precious. Senior, you are too kind. Yu Zhenguang said, looking flattered and surprised. Shortly after, Lu Changsheng casually inquired about the good items available at the auction. Facing the inquiry of a foundation establishment great cultivator, Yu Zhenguang did not dare to keep anything hidden and shared some information he knew. After listening, Lu Changsheng didn't show much interest. After chatting for a while, Lu Changsheng and Xianxia stood up and left. If the two seniors encounter any issues in the marketplace, or if there are any small matters that require instructions, you can come and find our Yu family. Our Yu family, as the host of Red Leaf Valley Market, as Lu Changsheng and Xianxia were about to leave, Yu Zhenguang took out a jade token, offering it with a respectful and polite gesture. All right. Lu Changsheng said, with a light laugh, accepting the jade token. He naturally understood that the other party wanted to curry favor with both of them and establish a goodwill connection. After Lu Changsheng and Xianxia left, Yu Zhenguang exhaled deeply, saying with a solemn expression, even though that person didn't reveal any cultivation aura, he is very likely also a foundation establishment great cultivator. Two unknown foundation establishment great cultivators arriving at the marketplace. I must report this to the ancestors. Shiyu, you might as well keep this jade token. After walking out of the auction, Lu Changsheng tossed the jade token to Xianxia. He wasn't convenient to show his true identity in the marketplace, nor did he need this jade token. Holding this jade token, Xianxia might find it convenient at times. Emichim. Xianxia tucked away the jade token, then said, Changsheng, regarding the hatching and cultivation method for the green jade luan bird, if you need it, I can later check in the sect. There's no hurry for this, look into it when you have time later. Lu Changsheng replied casually. At this moment, he also realized the benefits of belonging to a sect. Treasures and inherited knowledge that are difficult for ordinary cultivators to obtain are much simpler for disciples of immortal sects. By the way, I obtained this green jade luan bird's egg from Meng Yibai. So, if you're going to check this information, you might need to be a bit careful. Lu Changsheng reminded her. Although the chance of it being problematic was very small, it was still prudent to be a little cautious. After all, being noticed by a false core immortal would indeed be quite troublesome. Okay, I will be careful. Xianxia said, nodding slightly when she heard this. Considering they now had the additional identity of foundation establishment great cultivators, to make things convenient, Lu Changsheng and Xiao Xie rented a courtyard in the marketplace. They usually lived like a couple loose from worldly ties, residing in their little courtyard or occasionally strolling through the marketplace. Before long, more than half a month had passed. Does this child have a 7th grade spiritual root? One day, Lu Changxing felt a profound and mysterious sensation. He knew it was the birth of a child with a spiritual root. Based on the timing, he guessed it should be Yun Xianxian's child in her womb. Thinking of Yun Xianxian, he inevitably thought of his former good friend from Nine Dragons Market, Yu Maoqing. After the previous incident involving the third young master of the Yu family's recruitment efforts, their relationship had also become somewhat strained. Later, without visiting Nine Dragons Market, they lost touch. Only Yun Xianxian occasionally corresponded with Yu Ningrong through letters. With only half a month left before the auction starts, I should head back. Lu Changxing pondered. He had promised his wives that he would take them to the Red Leaf Valley market to see the auction. Plus, he also needed to return and hold lessons for the Lu family disciples. He informed Xiao Xie and Lu Miaoge about this, and then Lu Changxing set out for Qingzhou Mountain on his mount. Elder 9. Master Lu. Brother Changxing, brother-in-law Changxing. Upon returning to Qingzhou Mountain, many of the Lu family members greeted Lu Changxing and paid their respects as he passed by. In the face of this, Lu Changxing still smiled amiably and nodded politely in return, without any air of superiority as an elder. After telling Uncle Fu about the teaching arrangements, Lu Changxing returned to his own home. Upon learning of Yun Xianxian giving birth to a baby girl, Lu Changxing also went to show his concern and visit. Although nowadays, with so many children, he had become much more detached in this regard, he still fulfilled the basic duties of a husband and father. After staying at home for 10 days and handling some various household matters, Lu Changxing piloted the spirit boat, taking Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Zhenjin to Red Leaf Valley Market. Now, as an elder of the Lu family, piloting a spirit boat wasn't conspicuous. Miaoqing, what are you doing here? Upon reaching the entrance to Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Changxing saw a familiar patrol member and called out in greeting. Changxing. Hey, it's the first auction, so nothing can go wrong. That's why the family arranged for me to maintain order, Lu Miaoqing said casually, perking up instantly upon seeing Lu Changxing and spoke. Then he briefly greeted Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Zhenjin, and without further ado, he registered them and let them enter through a special passage. With the increased visitor traffic at Red Leaf Valley Market, a special passage was established to accommodate esteemed guests, bypassing identity verification. Once inside the market, Lu Changxing first accompanied his wives for a leisurely time around the bustling marketplace. With the auction approaching, the visitor traffic in Red Leaf Valley Market had peaked, creating a lively atmosphere. Humph. Just then, as they were walking, the second miss suddenly let out a disdainful snort. A woman in a yellow dress coming from the opposite direction also glanced at Lu Changxing and snorted disdainfully. Seeing this, Lu Changxing was taken aback, unsure of what was happening. It took him a moment to remember that the woman was a direct daughter of the Jing family, apparently named Jing Yongshan. Chapter 359, The World Spirit Plant, The Luminous Treasure Tree. She had some conflicts and grudges with the second miss. He never expected that after so many years, the two would still remember their hatred, which made him shake his head and laugh. So you are Lu Changxing, the talisman master. I am Yu Ninghai, and I have seen Lu Daoist, he said. At this moment, a blue-clothed young man standing shoulder to shoulder with Jing Yongshan smiled and came forward to greet Lu Changxing with clasped hands. I have seen you Daoist. Upon hearing the name, Lu Changxing knew that the man was from the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain. He had also heard that the Jing family was now lacking successors. They could hardly muster a newcomer for foundation establishment, let alone have many seeds for it. And the Jing family ancestor had only a few decades of life left. Therefore, the Jing family had connected with the Yu family, and there had been quite a few marriages between the two. The two just exchanged some simple pleasantries and then left with their female companions. Huaner still remembers the grudge. At this moment, Lu Changxing looked at the second miss and teased her. What grudge could I remember? I don't hold grudges. The second miss, dressed in a finely made black gown, tall and graceful, lifted her delicate chin slightly when she heard Lu Changsheng's words. Since she became the mother of 2 children, she had been much more conservative in her dress. Although she still enjoyed buying little dresses, she would only wear them at home or when she was with Lu Changxing. Did that person just now offend Huan's sister? Chu Zhenjin, who was standing aside, revealed a gossiping expression upon hearing this. Lu Changxing laughed as he recounted the amusing incident. After accompanying his wife for half a day, Lu Changxing then proceeded to the Lu family compound with everyone. Although he did not live here, he often visited the Red Leaf Valley market and had a courtyard there. On the 3rd day, Lu Yuanzhong, the Lu family ancestor, also visited the Red Leaf Valley market. He brought along several top figures from the Lu family to inspect the conditions of the shops in their marketplace. As the 9th elder of the family, Lu Changxing naturally joined them. During this inspection, Lu Changxing gained a general understanding of some of the inns and restaurants owned by the Lu family. He could only say their profits were mediocre. If one desired higher income, it was the spiritual talisman shop that provided a more substantial revenue. This was also because the Lu family had several top-level first-grade talisman masters. Moreover, the paper talismans produced by the Lu family and their spirit ink had a good reputation. Congratulations to the host, the number of offspring with spiritual roots has reached 30, granting a lottery draw opportunity. Just then, a profound vibration accompanied by the system notification sound arose. Lu Changxing knew that another child with a spiritual root had been born in his family. But after so many lottery draws, he was now undisturbed by such notifications and continued with the inspection with everyone else. After the inspection, Lu Changxing returned to his quiet room and whispered, "System, draw the lottery." Immediately, the familiar lottery wheel emerged before his eyes. Start the draw. With a small nudge from his mental spirit, a golden light quickly spun on the lottery wheel. Soon, the light stopped on treasure. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the luminous treasure tree. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host may check it at any time. Luminous treasure tree? A celestial spirit plant? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow as he looked at the reward he had drawn. He had previously thought that he would only find spirit plants in the pets section when he drew the 6-winged golden silkworm. That's right, some plants and spirit plants can turn into demons, but that's not true for all plants. Lu Changxing chuckled lightly. Without dwelling on these details, he shifted his focus to the introduction of the luminous treasure tree in the system space. Spirit plant, luminous treasure tree, rank, 3rd grade, description. The luminous treasure tree, every 30 years, will condense luminous sweet dew from its roots. The dew, when used to wipe the eyes, can clarify vision and enhance the effectiveness of spiritual eye techniques and divine skills. Luminous treasure tree, luminous sweet dew, clarifies vision, and enhances spiritual eye techniques and divine skills. Lu Changxing, perusing the introduction of the luminous treasure tree in the system space, showed a pleased expression. In the cultivation world, naturally occurring treasures that could amplify a cultivator's personal abilities and enhance techniques and divine skills were exceedingly rare and precious. And for most cultivators, a talented eye was in high demand. For example, to inspect another person's cultivation level and strength, to navigate secret realms and formations, or to appraise treasures, one required capable spiritual eye techniques. This luminous treasure tree, capable of steadily producing luminous sweet dew beneficial to such techniques, could truly be called a money tree. However, this luminous treasure tree only condenses luminous sweet dew once every 30 years, which is too long a time. Moreover, such a 3rd-rank spirit plant would need to be planted at least on a 2nd-grade spirit vein. Although it is possible to plant it in Jianghu Valley, the luminous treasure tree isn't like the golden armor bean mother, which you could just plant by digging a hole in the courtyard. It looks quite large and conspicuous. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and exhaled, clearly recognizing the shortcomings of this spirit plant. In the long term, it was a money tree, a treasure tree of great value to a cultivation family. But personally, for the moment, it was quite useless to him. Well, I'll see later on whether I can plant it at the Lu family first. After all, such a spirit plant can be transplanted, it just requires a spiritual plant master during the process. Lu Changxing did not extract the luminous treasure tree from the system space yet. He decided to wait until it needed planting to take it out. Chapter 360, The World's Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. _4. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know how to arrange these extracts. As for the heaven and earth longevity technique he obtained, he didn't consider having his wives and children assimilate the heaven and earth spirit plants into life-bound spiritual roots for the time being. It wasn't that he was reluctant to part with this treasure tree. In the heaven and earth longevity technique, after the heaven and earth spirit plants are refined into life-bound spiritual roots, they continue to grow just as before. Even the cultivator could gain some of the mysterious divine skills of the heaven and earth spirit plants. But he even had to consider whether to plant it in the Lu family. How could he use this treasure tree just for his wife to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique? Dusk fell. Lu Changxing arrived at Xiaoxia's courtyard. After all, tomorrow he was to attend the auction with his 4 wives. Unable to accompany Xiaoxia, he also had to trouble her to help with the auction. The next day, Lu Changxing, accompanied by his 4 wives, along with Lu Yuanzhong, Lu Yuanding, and others, headed to the Red Leaf Valley auction venue. To enter the auction, there were naturally certain requirements. One either needed to have a certain status or verify their financial ability. But as one of the hosts, the Lu family naturally arranged a special VIP area. Brother Lu, it's a pleasure to meet all the sister-in-laws. Hong Yi also came to the Red Leaf Valley market to attend the auction. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, he promptly went up to greet him, looking to get acquainted. Even though he had long known that Lu Changxing's status in the Lu family was extraordinary, seeing Lu Changxing walking together with several high-ranking members of the Lu family and his wives, he still couldn't help but feel emotional inside. He reminisced about the past when he, Lu Changxing, and Li Feiyu failed to be selected by the Immortal sects. Back then, he had felt a bit arrogant in his heart. He thought that Lu Changxing and Li Feiyu could only go to cultivation families to be sons-in-law, while he could return home to cultivate. But now, Lu Changxing had married the pearl of the Lu family as a son-in-law and become a high-level figure of the Lu family, leaving him looking up. Brother Hong, you're here too. Lu Changxing smiled and nodded, briefly introducing him to his wives. However, both Chu Zhenjin and Lu Miaoyun had met Hong Yi before. Only Lu Miaohuan had not met him. Although the second young lattice temperament had improved slightly, she was still indifferent to someone like Hong Yi, merely nodding lightly out of courtesy for Lu Changxing's sake. Hong Yi didn't linger too much either. He simply came over to greet them and then quickly left. Daoist Yu, Daoist Bai, Daoist Jing, Daoist Huang, Daoist Su. After entering the venue, Lu Yuanzhong chatted and greeted each person. Those who could be greeted by Lu Yuanzhong and engage in mutual conversation were naturally all Foundation establishment great cultivators. Facing this, Lu Changxing did not mingle and instead took his wives to sit down in the Lu family's VIP booth. Such VIP booths not only had good positions, providing an unobstructed view of the entire auction, but there were also maids preparing spiritual tea and spirit fruits. Lu Changxing also spotted Xiaoxia in the VIP seats far away. After all, as a Foundation establishment great cultivator, she was definitely provided a VIP seat at the auction. As for Hong Yi, he sat in the common seats below, with only a plain cushion, very simple. About half an hour passed. The seats in the auction venue were almost full. A young man dressed in azure vestment robes and a jade crown, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, stepped up to the auction stage. Welcome, fellow Daoists, to the Red Leaf Valley Market. My name is Yu Ningjuan from the Yu family, and I am honored to host this auction. I also hope that everyone will be able to purchase their desired items." With a smile on his face, the young man bowed to the audience. His voice, warm and gentle yet clear, reached everyone's ears. Clearly, his cultivation was not mediocre, possessing the strength of qi refinement perfection. "Father, why do I feel like this auction is completely dominated by the Yu family?" Lu Miaohuan, seeing that the person hosting the auction was also from the Yu family, frowned slightly and said. These past few days, as she wandered around the Red Leaf Valley market, she could tell that whether it was patrolling or the auction itself, it was mostly handled by the Yu family. Hearing this, Lu Changxing also looked towards Lu Yuanding. It was not just Lu Miaohuan who had this feeling, he had felt it for many years in the Red Leaf Valley market. However, he had an inkling of the reason. Although this Red Leaf Valley market is said to be hosted by our 4 major families, as you know, our Lu family only has Elder Yuan Zhong in residence. The Yu family, not only having 2 foundation establishment ancestors but also being much stronger overall than our Lu family, so over these years, our Lu family has been losing its say in the Red Leaf Valley market, explained Lu Yuanding with a sigh. Although the Lu family holds a 40% share in the Red Leaf Valley market, the cultivation world ultimately operates on the principle that might is right. After the Lu family ancestor passed away, only Lu Yuanzhong was left to support the Lu family. So gradually, the say in the Red Leaf Valley market fell into the hands of the Yu family. While the Bai family stands on the side of the Lu family, the Yu family is mainly competing for authoritative control, eroding the Lu family's interests. The Bai family not only doesn't suffer losses but even gains benefits from the Yu family. So even though everyone knows the danger of, when the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold, the Bai family was not likely to defend the Lu family's interests and step forward. After all, things had not reached that point yet. Although the Lu family benefited greatly from the annihilation of the Qin family in that battle, converting those advantages into strength also requires time, so now facing the Yu family, we can only give way. After all, Lu Yuanzhong has only broken through to foundation establishment not long ago, while both of the Yu family's elders have been in foundation establishment for many years. Lu Changxing thought to himself, aware that the Lu family was developing steadily, but the situation was not that great. However, now that he too had reached foundation establishment, should the Lu family really face a crisis, he would have the ability to lend a hand. Had it followed normal development, the overall strength of the Lu family would hardly surpass the Yu family, but if Lu Miaoge reached qi refinement perfection, Lu Changxing was 60 to 70% confident he could help his wife succeed in foundation establishment. Once Lu Miaoge succeeded in foundation establishment, the Lu family's overtly stable development would no longer be a problem, and surpassing the Yu family in the future would not be an issue. Chapter 361, Truyang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. _1. As Lu Changxing lost himself in thought, the auction officially began. The first item up for auction at this auction is of a breakthrough elixir. This breakthrough elixir is used for overcoming the mid-stage bottlenecks of energy refining cultivators and is suitable for practitioners of various cultivation techniques. Today we are auctioning off 10 pills, with starting bids at 100 lower-grade spirit stones each. A graceful maid walked up, carrying a tray, as Yuningjuan picked up a porcelain bottle to begin the introduction. Many present already knew the effects of this breakthrough elixir. But he still gave a very detailed introduction. He explained the ingredients, effects, circumstances, and even identified the alchemist who concocted it. And he did so smoothly and without awkwardness, with humor and wit. Breakthrough elixir. I didn't expect the first item to be a breakthrough elixir. I wonder if there will be any high-grade breakthrough elixirs later on. Many cultivators in the venue were excited, not expecting such good items from the start. Breakthrough elixirs like these are considered cure-all remedies. Practically every cultivator and family power has a need for them, for use by their younger generations. 110 spirit stones. 120. 150. Voices continuously called out bids. But these bidders were well aware not to exceed the market price. In no time, the 10 breakthrough elixirs were fiercely claimed. First grade premium defense talisman, the Golden Light Bodyguard charm, can withstand the full force strike of an energy refining cultivator at the perfection stage. First grade lifespan extension pill, capable of extending life by 5 to 10 years, although such pills from the same grade will only be effective with the first pill taken. White Spirit Jade Bird, a lower high-quality bloodline spirit bird, capable of traveling 3,000 miles a day, can automatically navigate back and forth, making it very convenient for sending messages. Golden Fufli Blade and its subsidiary blades, a matched set of advanced level magic artifacts, with 1 main blade and 8 subsidiary blades. By simply holding the main blade, you can control the 8 subsidiary blades to attack opponents unexpectedly and with relentless sharpness. The auction proceeded in an orderly fashion. Since this was Red Leaf Valley Market's first auction, one could say that all these items were rare finds. However, Lu Changxing didn't participate in the bidding throughout the event. For one thing, he wasn't interested in the items. And he also didn't want to reveal too much of his financial capacity. After all, in the eyes of the Lu family, he was simply a moonlighter when it came to income and expenses. Coming here with his wife this time was just to join in the excitement and broaden their horizons. Second rank lower grade talisman, the Thunder Fire Talisman, comparable to an attack from a Foundation Establishment Great Cultivator. As evaluated by RU family appraisers, these talismans are all premium talisman with almost 10 to 20% more power, starting at a bid of 300 spirit stones, and there are 10 in total. At that moment, the maid brought another auction item to the stage, and Yuningjuan introduced it aloud. Second rank talismans, and their premium talismans? It looks like the Yu, Lu, Bai, and Jing families have all invested a lot in this auction. These premium talismans not only pack more punch, but are also ideal for talisman masters to copy, which might be worth acquiring one to take back. Many people in the crowd, hearing the introduction and looking at the talismans on stage, couldn't help but discuss and feel tempted. It's exceptionally challenging for ordinary cultivators to purchase advanced level talismans. One must venture to a large marketplace to seek them out. And often, one needs to reserve and wait. Even more so for advanced level talismans. Now with 10 second rank talismans up for auction, all being premium talismans, it naturally stirred interest. It looks like these talismans should fetch a nice price. Lu Changxing, observing the notably more enthusiastic atmosphere in the room, couldn't help but grin. Knowing the 20 talismans he had Xiaoxi at auction should bring in a significant profit. 400 spirit stones. A bid was immediately placed by an energy refining cultivator, adding 100 spirit stones right off the bat. Since the starting prices at the auction are always below market value to allow for bidding room, this cultivator clearly aimed to outbid others in one fell swoop to dissuade competition. But the rest weren't fools either. They knew that ordinary second-rank lower-grade talismans were priced just so, therefore the premium ones would naturally fetch a higher price. 410. 420. 450. In a short while, the bidding for that single talisman soared by half over the starting price. 470. 500. Lu Changxing, watching the price rise, couldn't help but feel elated. He hadn't expected his second-rank talismans to be so popular. With these 20 talismans all auctioned off, he'd directly pocket 10,000 spirit stones. Sometimes, making money can be that simple. 550. Just then, Lu Yuanding, sitting beside him, spoke up in an indifferent voice, stating a price. Father-in-law? Dad? Lu Changxing and others turned to look at Lu Yuanding with some surprise. They didn't know why he suddenly placed a bid. The others at the venue, seeing Lu Yuanding bid, chose not to continue bidding. Aside from the price of 550 spirit stones already being quite high, they also didn't compete out of respect for the Lu family, since there were still 9 more to go. I've heard from the 4th elder that premium talismans are particularly well suited for talisman masters to practice copying. Changxing, Miaoge, you are both top-level talisman masters now. You can use this talisman for practice, which might help you advance to second-grade talisman masters, Lu Yuanding chuckled and explained to Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. Usually, during this kind of auction, the four major families would try not to compete with others. But for his daughter and son-in-law, he had nonetheless spoken up and made a bid. And his final bid did not have the sense of intimidation. "Thank you, father-in-law, for the generous gesture." Lu Changsheng, upon hearing this, had mixed feelings of amusement and gratitude. There's no need for thanks among family," Lu Yuanding waved his hand dismissively. After the first Thunder Fire talisman was sold, the remaining 9 were successively auctioned off. Chapter 362, Truyang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. Each fetched a price of over 500 spirit stones. The last 2 even fetched the high price of nearly 600 spirit stones. These people probably had the same idea as Lu Yuanding. Thinking of buying the talismans to copy, not for self-defense. If it were for self-defense, the price would seem unworthy. After auctioning off 10 Thunder Fire talismans, Lu Changsheng's other 10 second-rank Vajra talismans were not immediately auctioned off. The auction items were not one better than the next, varying in quality to stir the atmosphere in the venue. "Senior, here are the second-rank Thunder Fire talismans you bid for." Before long, a law enforcement cultivator escorted a maid, delivering the talismans inside a talisman box to the VIP platform. Lu Yuanding had Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge check the talismans to make sure there were no problems, and then paid 550 spirit stones. Then he handed the talismans over to Lu Changsheng, telling the 2 of them to ponder over them often, to study the patterns and flows of spiritual power in them. They could also take them back to ask the 4th elder for guidance when the time came. Ladies and gentlemen, next up for auction are the high-level spiritual birds reared by the 100 Birds Lake by family. At this moment, Yuningjuan started to introduce several spiritual birds taken out from a spiritual pet bag. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng, who had been sitting leisurely, also took an interest. He had long wanted to replace his iron feather eagle with a flying mount. But he had no way to do so. The flying mounts available on the market, nearly all of them were about the level of the iron feather eagle. And were not significantly better. Although he had obtained an egg of the green jade luan bird, this thing was after all stolen goods. Who knew when it would hatch and grow big enough to serve as a mount? Purple-scaled eagle, middle-grade middle-stage bloodline with the strength of a first-grade, middle-stage creature, whether for combat or as a flying mount, both make it a decent choice. Starting bid 300 spirit stones. Golden-crowned crane, middle-grade high-quality bloodline with the strength of a first-grade, middle-stage creature, starting bid 500 spirit stones. Black-winged eagle, high-rank low-quality bloodline with the strength of a first-grade, middle-stage peak creature, starting bid 1,000 spirit stones. Yuningjuan introduced the 3 types of birds. "Father-in-law, are there any other flying spiritual birds coming up?" Lu Changsheng, looking at the golden-crowned crane and black-winged eagle on the stage, inquired of Lu Yuanding. He remembered that some items for auction had been announced earlier in the venue. However, he had not looked closely. If there were no other fine spiritual birds later on, he thought the black-winged eagle seemed acceptable and could make do. There seems to be another black-winged eagle, later on, in the late 1st grade. Lu Yuanding replied upon hearing this. Then he turned to Lu Changsheng to inquire, "What, you want to buy a spiritual bird?" "I often run back and forth, and I feel it would be more convenient to have a better flying mount." Lu Changsheng nodded and spoke truthfully. "Changsheng, there's no need to waste money in this regard. The iron feather eagle is already considered a decent flying mount. This golden-crowned crane and black-winged eagle, although faster than the iron feather eagle, aren't significantly faster. It would not only be a waste of spirit stones, but the cost of upkeep is also much higher than that of the iron feather eagle. Just for the sake of travel, it's not worth wasting this money." Lu Yuanding spoke out, persuading Lu Changsheng not to waste money. The iron feather eagle was a flying mount the Lu family got through their cooperation with the Bai family. Not only was it affordable, but it was also good in terms of flying speed and daily expenses. making it the first choice for value for money. All right. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing thought it over and decided to give up on changing his flying mount. He disdained the iron feather eagle, not for its slow speed but because every time it encountered an enemy, it would tremble with fear. Yet, given his own situation, the black-winged eagle would tremble just as much if he encountered a foundation establishment cultivator. If he ran into a minor chi refinement practitioner, he could annihilate them single-handedly without needing to worry about his mount. It seems I need to go all out in one step, otherwise, the late first-grade black-winged eagle doesn't mean much to me. And spending thousands of spirit stones on a flying mount would make me seem too extravagant. Lu Changxing mused to himself. After watching the auction for so long, he also felt his usual spending seemed a bit high. Or rather, spirit stones came too easily to him, leading to a habit of spending lavishly. In this auction, items worth over 1,000 spirit stones were already considered very expensive. Many people might have just a few hundred spirit stones on them. The auction continued in an orderly manner. Talismans, elixir medicines, magic artifacts, spiritual beasts, secret techniques, cultivation legacies, and more all appeared. The remaining 10 second-rank talismans that Xianxia had consigned were also auctioned during this time. But seeing that Lu Yuanding was ready to bid again, Lu Changxing proactively made a bid himself. After all, as a talisman master, bidding for a talisman in such a situation was also justifiable. He also didn't have the heart to let Lu Yuanding spend more on his account. Over 500 spirit stones was not a small expense for Lu Yuanding either. As time ticked by, the auction finally came to a climax. Next, we come to the last and final highlight of this auction. I'm sure all the guests here have been eagerly awaiting this, Yuningjuan spoke solemnly, causing everyone in the venue to perk up. Many came just for these climax auction items. Soon, maids holding trays covered with red cloth appeared on stage. Our first climactic auction item is a foundation establishment spirit object, the Earth Fire Spiritual Liquid. Helpful for dealing with the mana barrier among the 3 obstacles of foundation establishment, especially for cultivators with a fire attribute technique. The starting price is 1,500 spirit stones. Yuningjuan lifted the red silk from the first tray, revealing a crystal-clear glass bottle on a white jade tray. Through the glass bottle, one could see a flowing red liquid inside. Foundation Establishment Spirit Object. Earth Fire Spiritual Liquid. Chapter 363, True Yang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. In the venue, countless pairs of eyes burned with desire as they gazed at the foundation establishment spirit object. Even the energy-refining cultivators who couldn't afford it were filled with longing as they looked at the object. After all, this was a spirit object related to foundation establishment. Foundation establishment spirit objects, I wonder what price it will fetch, Lu Changxing mused calmly to himself. The market price for a foundation establishment spirit object was between 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones. But the final transaction price typically exceeded this amount. After all, such objects were considered cure-alls and highly sought after. Whether one was an energy-refining cultivator or a foundation establishment cultivator, a loose cultivator, or from a family power, there was demand. However, he wasn't interested. He still had 4 foundation establishment spirit objects on him, after all. 2,000 spirit stones. Those who could afford to bid for this item were no fools. Knowing what it meant to raise the bid by just 100 or 200 spirit stones, they directly bid 2,000, which also demonstrated their resolve. 2,100. 2,500. 2,800. Before long, the foundation establishment spirit object sold for the high price of 3,900 spirit stones. Although the price was inflated, foundation establishment spirit objects were, after all, hard to come by. Especially for those who cultivated fire attribute techniques, spending more spirit stones didn't matter. Second-rank spirit pill, 3 Suns elixir. This elixir medicine does not need much introduction from me. Named after the concept of a three-yang heralding prosperity, consuming it ensures that all hidden illnesses and underlying issues vanish as if bathed in sunlight. It is therefore somewhat miraculous in assisting the progression from energy refining to foundation establishment. Yuningjuan lifted the red silk cloth and introduced the object, holding a glazed jade bottle. 3 Suns Elixir. Lu Changxing noticed his wife, Lu Miaoga, looking at him with eyes full of tenderness. He chuckled softly without saying a word. In the end, the 3 Suns Elixir was sold at the price of 3,800 spirit stones. The same price that Lu Changxing had paid when he purchased it at the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion. But this was to be expected. Buying elixir medicines from a place like the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion was intrinsically more expensive. And at an auction, unless faced with competition, the prices generally would not go much higher than the market value. One after another, the star auction items appeared. These items were mostly bid on by the powers of foundation establishment families or great foundation establishment cultivators. Ordinary energy refining loose cultivators simply didn't have the financial capacity to participate. Middle-grade spiritual artifact, True Yang 5-element sword. This is a meticulous work by Master Oji, forged from True Yang phoenix tree wood and 5 elements primordial gold, with the aid of 3 foundation establishment great cultivators, taking 7 days and nights for refinement, harnessing the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, with a starting price of 3,000 spirit stones. At that moment, Yuningjuan unveiled the item by lifting the red silk cloth to reveal a cinnabar red sword with spiritual light flowing, and introduced it out loud. The True Yang 5-element sword? Combining the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth? Lu Changxing, who was appearing leisurely, narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard the description. Although he had cultivated the 7 luminaries heart lamp as his life-bound spiritual artifact, he still lacked a suitable spirit sword. But fabricating a well-suited spirit sword incorporating all 5 elements and both yin and yang was no easy task. He would have to seek out a second-rank artifact refining master for that. Currently, he didn't know any masters of that caliber, so he had put the matter aside for the time being. Although this True Yang 5-element sword doesn't incorporate both yin and yang, it's quite suitable for me, Lu Changxing thought to himself, preparing to acquire the sword. It was true that a middle-grade spiritual artifact was usually mastered by cultivators in the middle stage of foundation establishment. But with the profound origin bead at his side, he was by no means weaker than those in the middle stage of foundation establishment. In fact, his mana was even more profound than many of them. However, in such a setting, it was inconvenient for him to bid, so he could only trouble Xianxia. Given that his divine sense was a weak point and could be detected by others, Lu Changxing opted not to transmit to Xianxia via divine sense. Instead, he discreetly took out a transmission talisman belonging to Xianxia. Xianxia, who wasn't far away, looked perplexed upon receiving a message from Lu Changxing. But, after seeing Lu Changxing's glance and looking toward the auction stage, she quickly grasped his intention. 5,000 spirit stones. Xianxia immediately called out her bid. If it were before, she would have worried about not having enough spirit stones. But with 22nd rank talismans from a previous auction, she had no concerns about having enough spirit stones. 5,500. 5,800. 6,000. 6,500. 7,000. When the bid reached 7,000, Xianxia glanced at Lu Changxing. The price of a middle-grade spiritual artifact was typically around 5 to 6,000 spirit stones. Although the True Yang 5-element sword, being an exceptional piece, would be a good deal more expensive, 7,000 spirit stones seemed about right. Continue, Lu Changxing gave a slight nod, signaling Xianxia to keep bidding. The sword was perfectly suitable for him, and he was not inclined to skimp on these spirit stones. There were a few foundation establishment cultivators bidding, but after crossing 7,000 spirit stones, only an imposing middle-aged man remained in competition with Xianxia. However, when Xianxia made a bid of 7,900 spirit stones, the great foundation establishment cultivator could only grimace and snort coldly as he gave up. When he snorted, he turned to look at Xianxia. It was as if he wanted to see who had dared not to give him face. Lu Changxing watched this scene intently, making a note of what the foundation establishment cultivator looked like. He wouldn't mind stepping out of the marketplace with Xianxia to resolve any grievances with the man. After the middle-grade spiritual sword, an item of spiritual armor and a rare spirit pill were auctioned, and the auction came to an end. However, after the auction, the Patriarch of the Yu family and Lu Yuanzhong took to the stage to announce that the venue was available for free trading among attendees. They even offered to provide private boxes or secret chambers to facilitate transactions. Lu Changxing had no interest in this, nor was it convenient for him to participate. Moreover, the auction had lasted almost a day, and his 4 wives seemed somewhat tired. Chapter 364, True Yang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. _4. He said a few words to Lu Yuanding and then left with his 4 wives. Juner, you've worked hard for this auction. In a private room of the auction, Patriarch Yu Yuanshan of the Yu family looked at his grandson Yuningjuan with satisfaction. He was very pleased with his grandson's performance throughout the auction. Grandfather, this is my duty, Yuningjuan replied, looking at his ancestor with respect. Juner, I know you must be dissatisfied that the old patriarch gave the foundation establishment elixir to Ninghu and auctioned off the earth-fire spiritual liquid that was originally for you, but rest assured, if you perform well in the marketplace for the next 10 years, I will surely fight for the next foundation establishment elixir for you, and then, grandfather will also seek out a suitable foundation establishment spirit object for you, Patriarch Yu Yuanshan said solemnly to his grandson. How could I be dissatisfied when my elder brother successfully achieved foundation establishment with the elixir? As for the earth-fire spiritual liquid, it never suited me. Even with it, my chances of establishment would be slim. It's better to auction it off and contribute to the family. This was also my voluntary idea, Yuningjuan said with a candid expression. The Yu family currently appeared to only have 2 foundation establishment great cultivators. However, last year, Patriarch Yu Jianyang of the Yu family spent a great deal of money to acquire a foundation establishment elixir at Jianghu Immortal City, and allowed his great-grandson, Yuninghu, to successfully achieve foundation establishment in Jianghu Immortal City. This news was only known to the core members of the Yu family. Good, if you can think this way, grandfather is also relieved, now that we have the Red Leaf Valley market, as long as we can get this marketplace running and steadily developed, then take over the Zheng, Lu, and by families, our Yu family might be able to take it a step further. Patriarch Yu Yuanshan looked at his sensible grandson and felt very comforted, his eyes filled with longing. Yuningjuan also showed a look of longing when he heard this. Meanwhile, dozens of miles away from the Red Leaf Valley market, pft, pft, pft. 2 robber cultivators killed a pair of cultivators who had just left the Red Leaf Valley market. Their techniques were skilled, and they acted decisively. After dealing with the bodies and the environment, they immediately activated a formation device to hide their figures and auras. Whenever they encountered any lone chi refinement loose cultivators, the 2 would strike with the force of thunder and continue this behavior. Isn't someone taking the opportunity to attempt foundation establishment after the Red Leaf Valley market auction? At this moment, one of the 2, a burly man dressed in a gray vestment robe and wearing a bamboo hat, checked a transmission talisman. This Red Leaf Valley market only has a middle-grade spirit vein, and they dare to let someone attempt foundation establishment here? Aren't they afraid it will affect the formation's operation? The other, a young robber cultivator also wearing a gray vestment robe and a bamboo hat, said upon hearing this. It must be that the Red Leaf market wants to curry favor and attract this person. And they want to use this opportunity to attract loose cultivators to come here for foundation establishment. After all, this marketplace doesn't have any major backing, it's just established by 4 foundation establishment families. The strongest among them, the Yu family, with Patriarch Yu Jianyang, is only at the middle stage of foundation establishment. And normally, there's only 1 cultivator at the initial stage of foundation establishment stationed in the market. The burly man spoke disdainfully. After speaking, he looked at the young robber cultivator and said, "Your mother sent a message to me. She probably also wants to stir up a big scheme. Now that we're wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect, why not take this opportunity of the Red Leaf Valley market auction to plunder, and then directly flee Jiang country, head to Yu country. That way you'll have your foundation establishment resources as well." The burly man suggested. "Dad, isn't that too risky?" The young robber cultivator said with some concern after hearing this. "What's the risk in that? Your dad has come this far from a nobody-loose cultivator. I've seen all kinds of storms. This Red Leaf Valley market doesn't have a big backing. During this auction, it's not just us who came to rob travelers. There are many others here to muddy the waters, hoping to pick up some advantages. Besides, as long as the market becomes chaotic at the time, everyone will be robber cultivators." The burly man spoke, clearly accustomed to such undertakings. Chapter 365, Marketplace Mayhem, for robber cultivators emerge. _1. As the auction concluded, the crowd in the marketplace quickly dwindled. After all, the surge in visitors was mostly due to the auction, or those looking to trade amidst the excitement. Only a small portion of the crowd would choose to settle in Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Zhenjin, along with Lu Yuanding and Lu Yuanzhong, returned to Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Changsheng, however, did not go back with them. He planned to return after some time. He made his way to the small courtyard he rented with Xiaoxia. Changsheng. Xiaoxia revealed a gentle expression on her usually cold face when she saw Lu Changsheng. She handed over the spirit stones and the True Yang 5 Elements sword that had been auctioned to Lu Changsheng. "You've worked hard, Shiyu." Lu Changsheng took the spirit stones and the spiritual sword from Xiaoxia's hands. He then examined the True Yang 5 Elements sword. The spiritual sword was 3 feet long and 1 inch wide, with both hilt and blade gleaming in red gold color. The hilt bore a wooden pattern, while the blade was etched with a pattern of the 5 elements, enveloped by a faint golden halo. Merely looking at it brought forth an aura of sharpness. Even without having refined it yet, Lu Changsheng felt the spiritual sword was impressive and very suitable for him. "Changsheng, this True Yang 5 Elements sword comes with a special sacrificial refinement technique." Xiaoxia took out a jade slip and passed it to Lu Changsheng. The biggest difference between spiritual artifacts and magic artifacts is that spiritual artifacts can be refined and acknowledged by their master, allowing seamless control and enhancing power during combat. Even if an enemy seizes them, it would be difficult to refine them quickly. Oh, there's even a matching sacrificial refinement technique. Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow as he received the jade slip. He had long heard that some excellent magic artifacts and spiritual artifacts come with their own control spells and sacrificial refinement techniques. He scanned the sacrificial refinement technique contained within the jade slip with his divine sense. Inside was a blood refinement method. By using blood to refine the spiritual artifact, its power could be maximized in the hands of the first master. Even if the spiritual sword was snatched away, without the corresponding sacrificial refinement technique, forcible refinement would greatly diminish its power. While there are benefits to having a spiritual artifact with a special refinement method, there are also downsides. The advantage is that its power is stronger than that of a regular spiritual artifact. The downside is that if resold, the devaluation and discount are quite severe. After a brief look, Lu Changsheng put away the True Yang 5 Elements sword without starting the refinement process right away. After all, there were more pressing matters to attend to. A few days later, having dealt with urgent business, Lu Changsheng began the refinement process of the True Yang 5 Elements sword. Refining a spiritual artifact is not difficult, especially when it has no owner. In just half a day, Lu Changsheng had successfully refined the True Yang 5 Elements sword. Go! Stepping into the courtyard, Lu Changsheng's mental spirit stirred slightly, and the True Yang 5 Elements sword flew out from his hand. The spiritual sword, like a graceful swan or a roaming dragon, gave a light hum, bursting with the sharp energy of gung metal, its sword chi crisscrossing the air. The next moment, the sword's sharp gunmetal energy transformed into a shockwave as powerful as tumultuous waves, with continuous azure patterns shimmering across it. Then the sword changed again, its blade now suffused with a fiery red heat, roiling vigorously as if a fire dragon were roaring. Xianxia, in her moon-white dress, her holy and graceful figure standing there, watched the scene unfold with surprise and amazement in her eyes. Although Lu Changxing was merely toying with the true Yang five-element sword and had not displayed its full might, such a deft display led her to recognize that his sword technique was extraordinary. 7 Luminaries Sword Scripture. Xianxia murmured to herself. Previously, Lu Changxing had told her that the cultivation technique he was studying was called the 7 Luminaries Sword Scripture. But she had not witnessed Lu Changxing employing this technique. Now, she had gained some insight. She somewhat understood the significance of the 7 luminaries. Not bad, indeed this feels more suitable than the previous 2 spiritual swords I've used, Lu Changxing said, looking pleased as he retracted the sword's glow. In such a small courtyard, despite not being able to unleash its potential and test its might, a simple experience was enough for him to roughly gauge the power of this spiritual sword. It felt even more fitting in his hands than the white flying sword of the man in red and Meng Yibai's golden flying sword. It allowed him to utilize his 7 luminaries sword chi more effectively. As for the issues, this flying sword's primary power enhancement lay in the 5 elements. The genuine Yang Catalpa tree served merely as a guide, having no enhancing effect on the attributes of yin and yang. However, contentment is the key to happiness. To Lu Changxing, this was already sufficient, and to spend 7,900 spirit stones was not a loss. It seems Lu Lang is quite satisfied with this spiritual sword. Should Lu Lang require it, once Shiyu accumulates enough contribution value within our sect, I could request an artifact refining master to incorporate yin and yang spiritual materials, reforging the sword to elevate it to a superior or even an extreme quality spiritual artifact. Then, with both yin and yang, and the 5 elements complete, I imagine it would suit Lu Lang even better, Xianxia said softly with a smile, observing the contentment on Lu Changxing's face. From Lu Changxing's demonstration, she understood the meaning of the 7 luminaries and also comprehended why Lu Changxing had her bid for this spiritual sword and where it was lacking for his use. If I have such a need in the future, they'll come to bother Shiyu for it, Lu Changxing replied with a smile. For now, this spiritual sword is quite enough for me. Lu Changxing felt quite convenient having Xiaoxia's connections. Requesting a second-rank master himself would be troublesome, but for Xiaoxia, a disciple of the Immortal sects, it was something that could be resolved within Qingyun sect. Shiyu, someone competed with you during the auction, they might bear a grudge against you. Do you want me to go and get rid of him to settle the score? Lu Changxing said, looking at Xiaoxia, who stood beside him, her figure ethereal and exquisite. It wasn't that he had become petty or vindictive. If it were him, he would merely return a glare with a glare. Unless someone truly troubled him, he wouldn't bother holding a grudge. Chapter 366, Marketplace Mayhem, 4 robber cultivators emerge. But when it came to Xiaoxia, things were different. Moreover, it was for her own sake that Xiaoxia had bought the true Yang 5-element sword and earned this person's grudge, so naturally, he had to take a stance. For such a trifle, Shiyu isn't concerned at all, Lu Lang need not be like this. Upon hearing these words, Xiaoxia immediately blossomed into a smile like a young girl and said. She was not one to fuss over minute details. Especially since cultivating the supreme forgetful love technique, her emotions were mostly undisturbed by external matters, such trifling issues didn't linger in her heart. But Lu Changxing's words still stirred a trace of sweetness in her heart. All right, Lu Changxing agreed with a smile and nodded his head. After chatting for a bit, the two of them changed their appearance and left, returning to their cave-dwelling area with different identities. Now that the auction had ended, there was no need to maintain their Foundation establishment false identities. Otherwise, 2 Foundation establishment cultivators with undisclosed backgrounds living in the marketplace would make the 4 great families uneasy and vigilant. Upon returning to the cave-dwelling area, Lu Changxing found it to be much more crowded. It turned out that someone was preparing to attempt foundation establishment, drawing many spectators. Moreover, the Red Leaf Valley Market had introduced a new policy. As long as certain conditions were met in the Red Leaf Market, the market would provide a dwelling for attempting foundation establishment. To quickly increase the foot traffic in the Red Leaf Valley Market, the four great families have really put a lot of effort into it, but making such a move must also come with its share of risks, Lu Changxing said softly as he shook his head upon seeing the announcement. Generally, only large marketplaces and immortal cities provided resources for attempting foundation establishment. Red Leaf Valley only had a second-rank middle-grade spirit vein, which wasn't expansive, making it only a medium-sized marketplace. Just maintaining the internal spiritual energy of the marketplace and the operation of the Great Formation was already quite a task. If someone were to make a breakthrough to foundation establishment, extensively drawing upon nature's spiritual energy would undoubtedly affect the operation of the Great Formation. If they encountered an enemy attack during this time, it could render the Great Formation unable to operate at full capacity. However, to develop the marketplace at its initial stage, advantages had to be extended as much as possible to attract people to settle and spend. Moreover, Lu Changxing was only in his 30s. Becoming a second-grade talisman master at his age indicated a boundless future on the talisman path. If he were willing to work for some major power and connect with foundation establishment great cultivators, he might even obtain a foundation establishment elixir and attempt foundation establishment himself. Lu Changxing saw Lu Miaoge beaming with happiness as she looked at him. In her soft, water-like beautiful eyes, there was not only the affection and attachment between husband and wife, but also a maternal radiance mingled with a young girl's adoration and admiration. This gaze, even with a mere glance, softened one's heart and caused it to flutter. There's nothing more gratifying than liking the features of someone's face. That's right, at most in 2 years, your husband will become a second-grade talisman master, Lu Changxing's own heart fluttered as he saw her gaze. He remembered how tolerant Lu Miaoge had been over the years, her gentle and intelligent nature in his presence, and her understanding demeanor. He felt as if having such a wife was all a man could ever wish for. Sister Miaoge, you should know that I've always concealed my cultivation level. In fact, when I previously claimed to have broken through to the 7th level energy refinement, I had actually reached the 9th level. Knowing that the news of his imminent advancement to second-grade talisman master made Lu Miaoge so happy, Lu Changxing simply decided to share more news to make her happy. Chapter 367, Marketplace Mayhem, 4 robber cultivators emerge. After all, when they had used dual cultivation to save Lu Miaoge, she had found out that he was at the energy refinement late stage. It's just that he didn't mention it, and Lu Miaoge never asked about it. Now that he had made a breakthrough in foundation establishment, it was not a big deal to reveal a little about his cultivation level. 9th level energy refinement. Changxing, you've broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge indeed couldn't hide her immense surprise, her beautiful eyes rippling softly with happiness for him. In the cultivation world, breaking through to the energy refinement late stage before the age of 40 meant there was hope for foundation establishment. Now that Lu Changxing had broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement at the age of 33, it was not at all an overstatement to call him a genius. Across all of Jianghu Mountain, there were only a few people who could achieve the 9th level of energy refinement at such an age. Although she didn't understand how Lu Changxing, with a 9th grade spiritual root, had achieved such a cultivation level in just over a decade, she did not ask further. She knew that Lu Changxing had his own secrets. Of course, when have I ever deceived you? Observing her reaction, Lu Changxing couldn't help but smile and spoke accordingly. However, deep down he felt guilty for deceiving her again regarding his cultivation level. I always knew you were extraordinary, Changxing. Lu Miaoge, with her clear and gentle demeanor, said with a heart full of joy, why did you suddenly bring this up today? She had long known that Lu Changxing was at the energy refinement late stage, but she did not know the specifics of his cultivation level. Because I know Sister Miaoge, you've always wanted me to diligently pursue cultivation and aim for foundation establishment in the future. Seeing you so happy about the second-grade talisman master, I didn't want to hide, and I wanted to make you happier. Lu Changxing hugged Lu Miaoge, resting his chin lightly on her silky hair, and spoke the honest truth. I'm very happy. I believe, Changxing, that you will definitely become a foundation establishment great cultivator in the future. Lu Miaoge nestled in Lu Changxing's arms, her heart sweet and her eyes brimming with affection as she spoke softly. Having spent so many years together, she was naturally aware that Lu Changxing had many secrets. Whether it was from the time he saved her, his current 9th level energy refinement, or the previous involvement with the Three Suns elixir, among others. Outsiders might not be able to figure it out, but as his closest companion, she could sense some of it. The fact that Lu Changxing was willing to reveal some to her also made her very happy. It's not just me, it's us. In the future, we will both achieve foundation establishment. Lu Changxing said warmly. He had not only the foundation establishment elixir but also 4 foundation establishment spirit objects. He had not sold these spiritual objects, they were reserved for Lu Miaoge. With these conditions, he did not believe that Lu Miaoge would fail to succeed in foundation establishment. If she still failed, he would forcibly help Lu Miaoge condense her Dao foundation using the dual cultivation secret technique from the Yin-Yang harmony technique. Even though it would only be a fractured foundation base, it could still be slowly repaired into a flawless foundation base using the Yin-Yang 5 elements foundation base afterward. Lu Miaoge softly replied, nestling in Lu Changxing's embrace, her tender and affection-filled eyes displaying a longing for what was to come. She looked forward to that day truly coming. But family members know their own difficulties. She was very aware that without a foundation establishment elixir, relying solely on a few foundation establishment spirit objects, her chances of achieving foundation establishment were at best 2 or 3 in 10. The two of them just embraced each other quietly. Before long, Lu Miaoge's delicate body trembled slightly, her limbs felt soft, her cheeks blushed faintly, and her slender neck tilted back slightly. Is this, someone is making a breakthrough to foundation establishment? At that moment, Lu Miaoge looked out the window and saw that in the dwelling area of Red Leaf Valley, a vortex of spiritual energy was slowly gathering, and she gently stopped Lu Changxing's playful actions inside his robe. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing also stopped and looked toward the window. He immediately saw a vortex of spiritual energy several meters across steadily growing larger in the distance. This step indicated that the person had already passed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and was starting to condense spiritual liquid, preparing to lift up their Dao foundation. He must be the cultivator who bought the earth-fire spiritual liquid. It seems he has already crossed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and is now at the critical stage of foundation establishment, Lu Changxing said out loud. I heard he only has the earth-fire spiritual liquid as a foundation establishment spirit object. It's uncertain whether he'll be successful or not, Lu Miaoge murmured, her rosy cheeks tinged with a touch of sentimentality. She wasn't worried about the other party. She was seeing her own future path. After all, for most cultivators without a foundation establishment elixir, attempting foundation establishment meant staking their lives. Gambling on that 10 to 20% chance. The Lu family would produce foundation establishment hopefuls every few generations. But until the Lu family ancestor was near the end of his life and Lu Yuanzhong managed to achieve foundation establishment, it was known how difficult this life-risking chance was. Furthermore, Lu Yuanzhong managed to break through only because Lu Yuanshan had obtained the ingredients for a foundation establishment elixir in the Purple Shadow Secret Realm, partnered with others for alchemy, and successfully used the elixir to make the breakthrough. It's hard to say, after all, the hardest part of foundation establishment is this step where 80% fail, Lu Changxing said while playfully touching the plump and smooth snow-white skin. He had respect for someone who, without a foundation establishment elixir and only 10 to 20% chance, dared to gamble in such a way. After all, these people who were willing to give it everything typically had good foundations. Not only were their spiritual roots good, but they were also relatively young, only in their 40s or 50s. In that situation, they dared to forsake everything, risking their lives for that slim chance at Foundation establishment. Sister Miaoga, it's getting late. After watching for a while, Lu Changxing lost interest and said warmly to the beauty in front of him. After all, Foundation building phenomena weren't as compelling as the lovely person before his eyes. Moreover, such an event as Foundation establishment wouldn't yield results in just a moment or two, it required sustained time. Lu Miaoga looked at Lu Changxing, who was acting childishly, and cooed, rolling her eyes at him with a playful scowl. A white bone crossbow bolt was released from his hand, instantly killing a law cultivator who was at the energy refinement late stage. Not good. It's a Foundation establishment great cultivator. Quick, notify the ancestor, the other law enforcement cultivators exclaimed in shock as they took out their transmission jade tokens. At the same time, they activated a formation artifact, hoping to harness the power of the marketplace's great formation to resist the burly man. But the burly man was prepared. His expression was calm and indifferent beneath his bamboo hat as he performed hand seals, causing gray light pillars to surge from the ground. They caused the black smoke, still billowing from the burning inn, to rapidly roll towards the law enforcement cultivators, like dark clouds descending. To prevent escapees or reinforcements, he had laid a trap ahead of time. As the black smoke enveloped the law enforcement cultivators, they felt the fire poison spreading through their bodies, stiffening their movements and slowing down their spiritual power. You're tuning in to the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.